he has an MA of philosophy from the London Metropolitan University. He's published 7 collections of poems, including 2 of them which were translated in English, and he served as the president of the Afghan Writers Union from 2015 to 2021. We are then moving on and having the works of Tanos Taghirzadeh, Alireza Abiz, who is a wonderful multi-award-winning Iranian poet, literary scholar, and translator. He wrote extensively on Persian contemporary literature and culture. His book, Censorship of Literature and Post-Revolutionary Iran, Politics and Culture, since 1979 was published by Bloomsbury in 2020. He has published 5 collections of poetry in Persian, including The London Underground, which was the winner of the 2018 Shamlu Poetry Award. And then the poetry segment will be followed by Farshad Sunbuldil, Furugh Idrisi, Safura Rahbani, Bani Bayat, and Afshin Babazadeh. Most of our Iranian members will be doing their poetry in Persian, the Persian language, and they will speak to this themselves, but to the Persian speakers who are not aware of what they are saying, I would like to make note that a lot of them do account for Israel's attack, not only on the current genocide in Palestine, but also the attack that was done on Iran with the backing of the United States. And I think it's important for us to remember that we have never, ever faced an oppression from a country, an entity, a colonial oppression like Israel, where the bombing of the country can be perpetuated not only just in Palestine and in Lebanon, but in Iran as well, and many other countries, and there is no way to hold them accountable. So I think it's just very, very important to realize and make the connections that our struggle is not just limited to one oppressor and one nation, and that we are interconnected, as our Iranian brothers and sisters will remind us in their language and have us echo in our language here. Thank you so much.
این شعر تقدیم شده است به مردم فلسطین، به مردمی که سالهاست طعم رنج، آوارگی، جنگی ناخواسته در حقیقت و همه رنجهای ناخواسته بشری انگار خلاصه شده چون ابری سیاه بر سر مردم فلسطین و سهم رنج همه عالم نصیب فلسطینیان شده و اینها میکشند. این شعر سالها قبل گفته شده بود و ظاهراً هنوز در به همان پاشنه میچرخه و این تلخی هنوز ادامه داره و همدردی و همراهی ما با مردم فلسطین همیشگی هست و خواهد بود. 1000 مرد به پای تو جان سپردند و 1000 مرد به پای تو جان سپردند و 1000 دست تو را باز می فشردند و 1000 چشم سرنگ نشان ز نام تو را ز نقشه می قاپیدند و می ستردند و سپیدیت را تا صلح سازمان ملل سپید باشد از الخلیل بردند و سیاهیت را پیراهن زنی کردند که بچه هایش در انتفاضه مردند و ز سبز ویسکی کردند امیرهای عرب تو را به همراهش قطعه قطعه خوردند و تو سرخ خونت از شانه منتشر شده بود تو سرخ خونت از شانه منتشر شده بود که شانه های تو آزردند و تردند و تو سرخ خونت در روزنامه های جهان که دست و پا را از جنگ می شمردند و هزار مرد به پای تو جان سپردند و هزار دست تو را باز می فشردند و
Hello, this is Furuq Idrisi. I am a psychotherapist and writer from Iran. Together with a group of writers in a creative writing course led by Ghazal Mossadegh, we have written about our experiences of the 12-day bombardment of Iran. The pieces are written in an I remember form, simply to commemorate what we lived through. We will read short excerpts from that work in this segment. Our thanks to Ghazal Mossadegh, Leila Zarei, and our friends and comrades in Afghanistan. Thank you so much.
خب من تشکر میکنم از خانم غزل مصدق که به پیشنهادشون این متن رو با همکاری همدیگه نوشتیم. عنوان نوشتم هست یادم است و یادم خواهد ماند. یادم است وقتی میخواستیم تهران را به مقصد باقی در دماوند ترک کنیم، بیشتر از 3 ساعت در ترافیک اتوبان بابایی ماندیم و کمتر از 500 متر جلو رفتیم. یادم است در عرض 2 ساعت تمام وسایلی که لازم داشتیم را در چمدان ریختم. یادم است هرچه پول نقد داشتم را در کیف پولیم گذاشتم. یادم است فعالتر و پر انرژی‌تر شده بودم. انگار ته دلم منتظر چنین روزی بودم. از این طرف به آن طرف می‌رفتم تا هر چیزی که برای این روزها لازم داشتیم را از لباس و شارژر گرفته تا پول نقد و وسایل بازی دخترم را جمع و جور کنم. یادم است وقتی می‌خواستم روز یکشنبه 25 خرداد 404 با مراجعم خداحافظی کنم، برخلاف معمول که فقط یک خداحافظی ساده می‌کنم، بی اختیار گفتم به امید دیدار. ادامه دیدارها برایم ناممکن می‌آمد. یادم است روز 4 در حالی که برای خروج از تهران ساعتها در ترافیک مانده بودیم، در راه جاده زن میانسالی را دیدم با مانتو مشکی بلند و روسری کوچکی بر سرش که کف زمین افتاده بود و مردی در حال تنفس مصنوعی دادن به او بود. یادم است بین جاده تهران دماوند ایستادیم تا کنسرو ماهی، بیسکویت، نوار بهداشتی، پودر قهوه، پوشک برای دخترم، آب معدنی و دستمال و وسایل دیگری بخریم. آب معدنی و نان قفسه‌های خرید تمام شده بود. یادم است در صف چند متری نانوایی ایستاده بودم که خبر زدن صدا سیما را شنیدم. لحظه‌ای احساس کردم همه چیز فرو پاشید. هم خوشحال بودم، هم غمگین و مضطرب. یادم است در گوشه‌ای از اتاق می‌نشستم و برای دخترم کتاب قصه می‌خواندم. تا کتاب داستان تمام می‌شد دوباره از اول شروع می‌کردم به خواندن، اما فقط نیم ساعت گذشته بود. احساس می‌کردم در یک چرخه بی‌انتهایی از شب و روز گرفتار شده‌ام و قرار نیست این شب‌ها تمام شود. یادم از شب‌ها برای اینکه بعد از 2 شب بیخوابی بخوابیم، به توصیه دوست روانپزشکم همه‌مان یک عدد قرص کلوردیاسپروکساید خوردیم. یادم از هیچ فضای خصوصی در ساختمان بی دیوار باغی که ساکنش شده بودیم برای لباس عوض کردن و راحت دراز کشیدن و حتی نوشتن نداشتم. یادم است یکی از بستگانمان از نانوایی خلوت محلهشان در تهران 100 نان تافتون خرید و به باغی که ما پناه برده بودیم آورد. نانهایی که آنها را روی بندی در باغ انداختیم تا برای ماندگاری بیشتر به نان خشک تبدیل شوند. یادم است با بستگانم که در باغ دماوند بودیم برای اینکه سرمان را گرم کنیم با آلبالوهایی که از درختان باغ چیده بودیم مربا درست کردیم. یادم است چندین شبانه روز دوش نگرفته بودم. پریود بودم و حالم از بوی بدنم به هم می‌خورد. بوی خاک و عرق و خون در هم آمیخته شده بود. دوش گرفتن زیر آب گرم مثل یک رویا شده بود. یادم است از اینکه بعد از 1 هفته از شروع جنگ به منطقه شهری در خانه‌ای که از بستگانمان در شهر پردیس رفتیم خوشحال بودم. عصرها پایین محوطه آپارتمانشان برای پیاده روی بیرون می‌رفتیم. یادم است از روز 8 به بعد به شبکه‌های ماهواره‌ای دسترسی پیدا کردم. از بیخبری به اخبار شبکه‌های خارجی پناه بردم. یادم است شب 11 ساعت 4 صبح از اتاق بیرون آمدم تا یک لیوان آب بردارم و دیدم همه بیدار نشستند پای اخبار اینترنشنال. یادم از شب آخر پهپادها یا ریزپرنده‌ها یا هر چیز دیگری که من نامش را نمی‌دانم چند دور بالای سر ساختمانمان چرخید. گویی جنگنده اسرائیل بود که دور نظامی پیروزی می‌زد. یادم است 2 ماه بعد از اعلام آتش بس بود که نتانیاهو برای 3مین بار ویدیویی منتشر کرد که مردم ایران را مخاطب قرار داده بود. به مشکلات مردم ایران برای دسترسی به آب و برق اشاره می‌کرد. با تکبر و نخوت سیاستمدارانه‌ای به مردم ایران یادآوری می‌کرد که شما و فرزندانتان حتی آب پاکیزه ندارید و این شایسته شما نیست. در مقابل اسرائیل را برترین کشوری می‌دانست که می‌تواند 90% آب فاضلاب را بازیافت کند. یادم است از میل ایرانیان به آزادی حرف می‌زد. دست روی آرزو و رؤیای ایرانیان از یک زندگی خوب و آرام گذاشته بود و خودش را منجی ایرانیان می‌دانست. یادم است با تمسخر و عصبانیت ویدیو را دیدم. برایم مثل دیوانه‌ای بود که بخواهد با جنگ و خونریزی صلح و آرامش برای کسی بیاورد. یادم است 2 ماه پیش روزی برای خرید هدیه تولد دخترم به تجریش رفتم. دیدن ساختمان‌های نیمه خراب شده‌ای که حفاظ نداشت برایم غریبه بود. گویی تهران را نمی‌شناختم.
سلام، من بانی بیات، شاگرد خانم غزل مصدق هستم. بابت این همکاری از خانم لیلا زاره و بچه‌های افغانستان و استاد خودم خانم مصدق تشکر میکنم. یادم از شب با صدای موشک و ضد هوایی میخوابیدیم و صبح با صدای پرنده ها بیدار میشدیم. شبها میگفتیم کاش از شهر خارج شده بودیم. صبح یاد ما میرفت و میگفتیم میمانیم. یادم است در پارک محله‌مان جمع می‌شدیم. برای بچه‌ها آهنگ‌های شاد پخش می‌کردم تا زیر آسمانی که پدافندها مثل چراغ‌های بیقرار چشمک می‌زدند برقصند و کمی از ترسشان کم شود. یادم است نهال 3 ساله با زبانی شیرین گفت مثلا عروسیه و ما داریم زیر فشفشه‌ها می‌رقصیم. یادم است از 3 طرف شرق و غرب و جنوب دود سیاه غلیظ مثل پرده‌ای نیمه سوخته از روی شهر بالا می‌رفت و یادم است پرنده‌ها آشفته حال بودند. یادم است شبها پسرم را کنار خودمان می‌خواباندیم. یادم است زبان بازی‌های پسرمان جنگی شده بود. اسم سیاستمدارها را روی فیگورهای اسپایدرمن و هالک و بتمن می‌گذاشت. گاهی هم من می‌شدم نتانیاهو و او با جدیت کودکانه‌اش علیه من می‌جنگید. یادم است کنار قایق‌ها و موشک‌های کاغذی پدافند و پهپاد هم ساختیم. یادم است نان‌های فریزری می‌خوردیم. من عاشق نان تازه‌ام، اما همان نان‌های مانده برای چند هفته کافی بود. یادم است کشوی لباسهایم را با نظم بسیار مرتب کردم. یادم است از روزمرگی‌هایم استوری می‌گذاشتم. عکسی از پاهای من و پسرم در تشت آبی که صابون پدیکور آن را سرخابی کرده بود و 20 نفری که برایم نوشتن برو برو. یادم است عزیزان راه دورمان التماس می‌کردند از شهر خارج شویم. حال آنها خیلی بدتر از ما بود. یادم است حتی وسط جنگ هم دوست داشتم پدرم زنده بود. یادم است برای پسرم که چند روزی در جمع خانوادگی زندگی می‌کرد و دور و برش شلوغ شده بود خوشحال بودم. حتی برای خودم هم خوشحال بودم، برای مرخصی از وظیفه تمام وقت مادری. یادم است که به پسر شاه امیدی نداشتم و دلم می‌خواست وسط پرچم استرنگ کشور عزیزم سفید سفید باقی بماند. یادم است وقتی بعضی‌ها از پیام‌های او حرف می‌زدند احساس می‌کردم این صدا هیچ نسبتی با خاک زیر پایمان ندارد. یادم است با شنیدن پیام شما ایرانی‌ها شایسته زندگی بهتر هستید از زبان یکی از سردمداران جنگ حس می‌کردم کسی پوست تازه بسته شده بر زخمی چرکی را با ناخن می‌کند و از نو خون می‌اندازد. یادم است روز 12 وقتی گفتن آتش بس شده هیچ کس شادی نکرد. یادم است وقتی به شهر برگشتیم پر از خاک و غبار و ماتم بود و از خودم پرسیدم حالا باید زندگی را از کجا شروع کنم.
یادم است با صدای انفجار که بیدار شدم ساعت 3:30 صبح بود. یادم است فکر کردم دارند ساختمانی را خراب می کنند که دوباره بسازند و باز خوابیدم. یادم است دومین صدا را که شنیدم پشتش صدای شعار هم می آمد. یادم است فوراً عضو کانال خبری انتخاب شدم که بفهمم چه خبر شده. یادم است به دوستی که می دانستم همان موقع برای انجام سفری به فرودگاه رفته زنگ زدم. یادم است گفتم مبادا سوار هواپیما شود. یادم است احساس بیپناهی می کردم، احساس بیپناهی می کردیم. یادم است حرفهای مکرون و وزیر خارجه آلمان را که شنیدم بیشتر احساس بیپناهی کردم. یادم است نگران بودم تصمیم بگیرند حرفهای بیبی را باور کنند. یادم است اخبار خارجی را زیر و رو می کردم و حس بیپناهیم بیشتر می شد. یادم است به رناتا گفتم ما کسی را نداریم، صدای ما باشید. یادم است رناتا از اتاقش فیلم گرفت. اتاقش پر از هدایای من و سوغاطی‌های دیگرش از ایران بود. یادم است گفت ما فراموشتان نمی کنیم. یادم است شبی که ترامپ گفت تهران را تخلیه کنید تا صبح بیدار ماندم و به خروجی‌های تهران فکر کردم که نمی‌توانند این همه جمعیت وحشت زده را عبور دهند. یادم است غزال هر شب از آمریکا زنگ می‌زد و خاطراتش با ما را مرور می‌کرد. یادم است فکر کردم شاید واقعاً قرار است بمیریم. یادم است دوستانم در خارج نگران بودند که تشعشعات اتمی در کشور پخش شود. یادم است من نگرانی آنها شدم. یادم است بهمن دارالشفایی اعلام کرد کتاب فروشیش باز است. یادم است به سرعت خودم را به آنجا رساندم. یادم است دست بردم که کتابی بردارم. یادم است بهمن گفت پولت را نگه دار. آمده ایم اینجا تا حرف بزنیم و زنده بمانیم. یادم است صحنه‌های سریال چرنوبیل مدام جلوی چشمم می آمد. یادم است نمی‌خواستم به هیچ عنوان تهران را ترک کنم. یادم است مادر سالخورده دوستم گفت از جایش تکان نمی‌خورد. یادم است گفت انقلاب را دیده، جنگ را دیده، فروپاشی شوروی را دیده. یادم است گفت بدتر از اینها را دیده. یادم است فردای آتشبس به پارک هنرمندان رفتم. هوا پر از دود و غبار بود. یادم است فکر کردم اینها دود بمب‌ها و غبار ساختمان‌های فرو ریخته‌اند. یادم است خورشید پشت دودها می‌لرزید.
Hello, my name is Afshin Babazadeh. I'm from Iran. I've got a poem which I will read in both Persian and English, which I wrote for children of Gaza. امروز با لبه تیز نور از پنجره بیدار شدم. کودکی بودم زیر آوار سقف خانه‌ام. مادری بودم با پستانهایی پر از شیر که مزه انفجار بارود میداد. پدری بودم که هیچ وقت به خانه باز نمیگشت. همسایه‌ای بودم که دیگر وجود نداشت. خیابانی بودم که در بانگ فریادها دفن شده بود. مادر بزرگی بودم که دیگر پلک نمیزد. یادگارهایی بودم که دیگر به یاد نمی آمد. امروز با لبه تیز نور از پنجره بیدار شدم. بچه های زنده را می دیدم که خندیدن را در جیبهایشان پنهان می کنند. در همان لباس های غبار گرفته از بمب های شبانه در غزه. Today I woke up with a sharp blade of light through the window. I was a kid buried under the pile of roof of my house. I was a mother with a breast full of milk, with a taste of gunpowder. I was a father. I will never come back home. I was a neighbor. I do not exist anymore. I was a road that with a huge sound disappeared under the rubble. I was a grandmother. I will never blink anymore. I was a memory that will not be remembered. Today, I woke up with a sharp blade of light through the window. I saw kids alive, hiding their laughter in the pocket, in those clothes covered with dust from 90 bombardments of Gaza. Thank you.
In June 2025, Israel attacked Iran unprovoked. The US later joined the military operations and bombed Iranian nuclear sites. In its attacks on Iran, Israel killed not only the military officials, but also many civilians. It bombed hospitals, residential blocks, Evin prison, cars stuck in traffic, rescue workers while trying to save lives, and many people were wounded, maimed, and disabled for the rest of their lives. The same propaganda which was used against Palestinians in Gaza, was used against Iran. The Western media and the Western governments kept silent. They didn't talk about the civilian casualties. And when they did, they called them human shields. Iranian blood was spilled and mixed with the Palestinian blood in a shared history of pain, suffering, and mourning. We mourn together, we suffer together, and we resist together. In solidarity with Palestine and with the Palestinian people, I'm going to read one of my poems, first in English translation and then the original Persian. The poem I am reading is called "Worthy is the Lamb who was slain" and was translated by myself in conversation with Bill Herbert. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Revelations 5:12. The fog is coming toward me from the end of the alley, from the corner where a gate stands half open. It engulfs the black Ford and the red Honda, creeps on and slowly fills the alley. It climbs the hedges and the walls, swallows the houses opposite one by one, until only the chimneys are visible. It stands in front of me like a wall, curls around the tree facing my window. I open the window. The fog embraces me. I close my eyes, and with thousands of other ghosts, I am carried away. شایسته است بره‌ای که قربانی شد. مکاشفات یوحنا 5. مه از انتهای کوچه به سمت من می آید. از سر پیچ که دروازه خانه ای نیمه باز است. فورد مشکی و هوندای قرمز را می پوشاند. می خزد و آهسته کف کوچه را پر می کند. از پرچینها و دیوارها بالا می رود. خانه های روبرو را یکی یکی محو می کند. اکنون فقط دودکش بخاری ها پیداست. در برابر من مثل دیواری می ایستد. بر درخت روبروی پنجره می پیچد. پنجره را می گشایم. مرا در آغوش می کشد. چشمانم را می بندم و با هزاران شبح دیگر همراه می شدم.
Good afternoon, friends around the world. Greetings from Istanbul, Turkey. Today you will hear from 6 Turkish poets and 1 Egyptian poet. Now I'd like to introduce them to you in the order they will read. Betül Dündar is a poet, scholar, and editor. Her poetry books include Mirror Fatigue, Inside Other Worlds, and The Brief History of Forgetting. In 2005, she received two of the most prestigious literary awards in Turkey, Rıfat Ilgaz Poetry Award and Zekai Özger Jury Special Award. Mesut Varlık was born in Istanbul in 1980. Since 1997, his poems, interviews, translations, and literary criticism have appeared in numerous magazines. His collection of critical essays, The Events That Take Place in Turkey, was published in 2021. His debut poetry book, Eskidendi, will be published in December 2025. I am Sevda Akyüz, and I'm an academic, translator, and editor living in Istanbul. I translated Gary Snyder and Langston Hughes into Turkish. Ahmet Zakaria is an Egyptian poet and translator working between Turkish and Arabic. He lives in Istanbul. His first poetry collection received the Mahmud Dervish Poetry Prize. He has published 2 books of poetry, and his poems have been translated into several languages. Melek Deniz Özdemir is a translator living in Istanbul. She works between Arabic and Turkish. She has translated Orhan Kemal, Sabahattin Ali, Latife Tekin, and Orhan Pamuk into Arabic, and Shika Helavi, Abbas Baydun, Asma Azaya into Turkish. Her translations have been published in various literary magazines. Cihan Yurdaün is a poet and lecturer in the Department of Western Languages and Literatures at Boğaziçi University. A graduate of Üsküdar American Academy, he earned his BA in sociology, followed by MA and PhD degrees in English literature from Boğaziçi University. And Pelin Batu is an Istanbul-based actor, writer, and historian. She studied drama and literature at New York University and holds a PhD in Western languages and literature from Boğaziçi University. An active environmental activist, Batu frequently lectures throughout rural Anatolia with various NGOs. And last but not least, our friend Öykü Tekten, who is the original host and organizer of this part of the event, is a poet, editor, translator, and archivist. She is also the co-founder of Pinsapo Press, but unfortunately she won't be with us here today. So we go to our first poet, Betül Dünder, right now.
Betül, you're muted currently. Sevda, can you help me communicate that?
Yeah, Betül, could you please start? Betül, start please.
Her microphone is muted. I just don't know how to say it in Turkish.
Mikrofonu aç Betül. Mikrofonu aç. Heh, tamam. Başla. Sesin gelmiyor. Sesini duyamıyoruz. Betül, sesin gelmiyor.
Hiç mi gelmiyor?
Ha, şimdi geliyor.
Herkese merhaba. Ben Türkiye'den Betül Dünder. Şiirimi okumadan önce birkaç cümlem olacak. Konuşmamı ana dilimde yapacağım ve şiirimi de Türkçe okuyacağım. Filistin halkının soykırıma uğramasının kara gerçekliğini buradan dillendiren ve bu küresel şiddetin karşısında dünyanın farklı coğrafyalarından burada bir araya gelip nefes olan bütün şair kardeşlerimi, dostlarımı ilk önce selamlamak istiyorum. Onlara tek tek sarılıyorum. Aynı zamanda kendi vahşi iktidar karşısında cesaretle Filistin halkının yanında duran İsrailli barışçıları ve yurttaşları da selamlıyorum. Halkların dayanışması ve iyi, onurlu insanların varlığı onların kötülüğünden daha güçlü. Bunu unutmuyoruz ve birbirimizden asla vazgeçmiyoruz. Bu sabah oğullarımla beraber aydınlık bir güne uyandım. Ancak bu kara sabahları görmüyorum ve hissetmiyorum anlamına gelmiyor. O yüzden şiirimi Filistin'de evlatsız kalmış anneler için ve çocuksuz kalmış insanlar için okumak istiyorum. Nihayet, zamanın çoğunu yaşamıştı zaman. Hayat sözcüğünde var olan eğimden habersizdik henüz. Düştüğün yerden kalkmanın belirsiz mahcubiyeti, kendine gülmenin, kendine acımtırak gülmenin Bergson'dan beri bir anlamı var. Ve kalkmak, eğer kışlara düşmediysen, kalbinin rüzgarından değilse eğer, başkasının üzerine de yıkılmadıysan, ne güzel şeysin sen. Kalkabilmenin öyküsü daha fenadır düşmekten. Bilirsin gövdenin ağırlığını yalnızlık sözcüğünden. Öyle dik durmanın heybetinden kimse bahsetmesin uzun uzun. Uğultular var, uğultular. Ne diyor bunlar? Bir burkulmalık can taşıdığını hatırlatır bu düşmeler. Ölüm bir çıt sesidir nihayet. Felaketi gördün, bozulan havayı. Dağa baktın yanan ateş. Şehre baktın alev alev. Denizler bir kurtarıcı gibi göründü gözüne. Ama heyhat, su yanıyor, su yanıyor. Deniz yıldızısın sen diyor biri. Kaç kurtar kendini. Karada can kalmadı. Karada insan diye bir şey. Ateşi söndürecek el kalmadı. Ölüm bir kül yığınıdır nihayet. Neden yaşıyorsun bildiğinden emin değilim artık. Bildirimler geliyor, duyguların hep ona göre. Doğru ile yanlış, gerçek ile hakikat. Sen karıştırmadın mı kendini tarihten kaçırarak? Dağ yandı, şehir yandı, bir sen vardın senden içeri. Ama heyhat, korktun tutmaya başkasının elini. Ölüm sana uğramadı şimdilik, öyle mi? Gömdün sevdiklerini, alışkanlıklarını ve eski dünyayı. Buraya geldin, bir sürgünün yaşamı seninki, öyle mi? Birinin sabahı, birinin akşamına karıştı. Birinin ölüsü, diğerinin yanına gömüldü. Sen bakındın, insan ile arandaki mesafe ne kadar? Gökteki yıldızla denizdeki yıldızın ne farkı var? Gökte alev, denizde ateş, su yanıyor, su yanıyor. Annen unuttu seni. Bu hiç yaşamadın demektir nihayet. Hepinize selamlar.
Mesut, you're also muted.
Okay. Hello, everyone. It's truly meaningful to be here with all of you, and thanks to everyone who contributed to making this event possible. Regardless of the specific meaning and value of this gathering, I sincerely hope that it may, in some small way, resonate with the hope we carry in our hearts for Palestine, for Ukraine, for Syria, Afghanistan, for all geographies where war continues endlessly, and in fact, for the entire world. And perhaps, even if just a little, it may contribute to imagining better tomorrows. I would like to read a poem, Yaşlıları Niçin Öldürmeliyiz? Why We Should Kill the Elderly, from my upcoming book, Eskiden Değil, Olden Değil. For the international audiences, perhaps the line No war, no war, no war, or the line Show bitti may resonate more clearly. As you know, when Greta Thunberg and her friends attempt to reach Palestine by sea with the Gaza boats, Netanyahu intervened with military forces and made this statement. The show is over, means show bitti in Turkish. So, I'll go ahead now. Yaşlıları niçin öldürmeliyiz? Bozuldu sırası cümlemizin. Devam ediyorlar öldürmeye, daima affeden tanrılarıyla el ele. Yaşlıları niçin öldürmeliyiz? Anılardan geriye kalmadı bir dünya. Oysa kandık mutlu sonlarına. Kötü şeyler olduktan hep sonra bir son zonklayan bileklerimizde. Yaşlıları niçin öldürmeliyiz? Çünkü hep iyiler çıkarız kartaya. Öyle de güzel öğrettiler bize. No war, no war, no war, değil mi dendi? Uçmuyor işleyen kan zemine. Yaşlıları niçin öldürmeliyiz? Buna anlayış gösterecekler. kaderin ve inadın adıyla, henüz aramızdayken hiç değilse. Madem ölüme alışkın çenelerimiz, diyor yetiştirdiğiniz gençleriniz, kahkaha dağıtabilsin çamurlara, o çocuk çenelere yetişmez bezleriniz. Yaşlıları niçin öldürmeliyiz? Aşina değiliz, kan dökülmemiş bir nesle sayelerinde. Vardık evrenin künhüne, şimdi aşağılara gider yolumuz izninizle. Yaşlıları niçin öldürmeliyiz? Sırayı deniyorlar ya hak, varken yeterince melek halen, bitiyor gibi değil bir şiir, bitecek gibi bu delilik cinayetle. Thank you having me.
Okay, I'm Sevda Aküz, and I'd like to read you a poem inspired by Matthew Arnold, and then I'll read his poem as well. Armies clash by night. Peace is only ever an interbellum blink, a mere footnote in the battleground. Especially in these parts, armies clash by night. No amorous remedy for that, Master Arnold. When refugee babies are washed ashore, or the indignity of a naked dead body dragged through mud. A desperate person in self-immolation, a tearing cow on her way to slaughter, a mutilated puppy all over the TV news. Shared moments of agony. Is that even a thing? While the majority go on with the mundane, regarding the pain of others. Memory shackles images. Memory conjures what is not here anymore for a potentially indifferent posterity. Memory is a spooky matter, maybe, just maybe, trapped in a wilderness of mirrors, facing inglorious death. They try to compel you to do their will when that stark moment of truth stares at you point blank with a resigned inevitability. Now, as I said, I wrote this poem inspired by Matthew Arnold's famous poem, Dover Beach. Now I'd like to share that with you. The sea is calm tonight. The tide is full. The moon lies fair upon the straits. On the French coast, the light gleams and is gone. The cliffs of England stand, glimmering and vast, out in the tranquil bay. Come to the window, sweet is the night air. Only from the long line of spray where the sea meets the moon-blanched land, listen. You hear the grating roar of pebbles, which the waves draw back and fling at their return up the high strand. Begin and cease, and then again begin, with tremulous cadence slow, and bring the eternal note of sadness in. Sophocles long ago heard it on the Aegean, and it brought into his mind the turbid ebb and flow of human misery. We find also in the sound a thought, hearing it by this distant northern sea. The sea of faith was once too at the full, and round earth's shore lay like the folds of a bright girdle furled. But now I only hear its melancholy, long withdrawing roar, retreating to the breath of the night wind, down the vast edges drear and naked shingles of the world. Ah, love, let us be true to one another, for the world, which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new, hath really neither joy, nor love, nor light, nor certitude, nor peace, nor help for pain. And we are here as on a darkling plain, struggle and ignorant armies clash by night. Thank you for listening.
Ahmad, you can unmute and go ahead and start.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ahmed Zakaria. I am Egyptian poet, but I live in Istanbul. I will read my poem in Arabic. يوميات إلى محمود العناني. هل كانت صدفة أن أبدأ تدوين يومياتي في الذكرى 73 للنكبة؟ في مأزق كهذا كيف أفصل العام عن الخاص؟ لم أجد شيئا لأدونه. بالأمس زارني صديقي وكعادته كان يتجنب الحديث عن المحاصرين الخارجين من الميدان وهم يضعون أيديهم خلف رؤوسهم كالأسرى، ولكن في بلادهم. الوقت أضيق من أن نسمي الأشياء بمسمياتها كل يوم، ونحن نخلط العرق بالنبيذ ونشاهد أيامنا وهي تفلت من بين أيدينا كما تفلت الطائرة الورقية من يدي صبي. الوقت أضيق من أن نعلق صورنا على الجدران أو ندون ذكرياتنا عن الخارجين من الميدان وهم يضعون أيديهم خلف رؤوسهم كالأسرى ويبحثون عن بلادهم في بلاد أخرى. لا أحمل جراح غيري، أحمل جراح كل الحروب التي هربت منها. يقول فرناندو بيسوا: لماذا أشعر أنك تقصدني يا فرناندو الوغد؟ لكنني لم أهرب من الحرب ولم أختبئ مثلك في الأسماء المستعارة، ولا أحمل جراح غيري. ثم قل لي يا بسوى، كيف خرجت لي بجملتك هذه على دفتر اليوميات الذي اشتريته من مكتبة صغيرة في شارع جانبي باسطنبول حتى أدون ذكرياتي عن الهرب من الحرب. Thank you very much.
Merhaba. Yıllardır devam eden soykırım ve işgale karşı her zaman Filistin halkının yanında olduğumuzu tekrar belirtmek istiyorum. Filistin halkı, Filistin toprakları özgür olana kadar dayanışmamız devam edecek. Bugün size Filistinli şair Şeyha Hiliva'dan 2 şiir okumak istiyorum. Vatan. Çok küçüktüm. Hiç kimse benimle vatan hakkında konuşmaya çalışmadı. Tam 2 kış boyunca ayakkabımızın üzerine giydirdikleri, gün boyu yolların çamuruna dayanan sağlam bir poşetin vatan olduğunu zannettim. Kış vatandan uzak olmaktı. Sağlam bir ayakkabı ikinci bir vatandı. Çamurun rahmi. Kan bankası tüccarlarından uzak tuttuğum kesilmemiş göbek bağı. Sürgünümün kırışıklıklarını onarıyorum onunla. Saklıyorum, belki bir gün doğuracağım oluşmamış bir cenin için. Abdülhalim'le olan ilişkimi, evin önündeki tahta sediri ve beni ağlatan kelimeleri göbek bağıyla ölçüyorum. Göbek bağı çamurun rahmine çekiyor hala beni. Rahmimi kesip köpeklere atacağım diyor annem. Ne zaman özlemin hücumuna uğrasam, her seferinde yeniden doğmak üzereyken göbek bağını doluyorum boynuma. Teşekkürler.
Hi everyone. I'm so excited, happy, and honored to be part of this solidarity event. And the poem that I'm going to read is actually work that I've been working on. I carved it out of entire manuscript. There were pages about Palestine and Gaza. So I just made this poem just for this occasion. Hopefully, the manuscript, the entire book, which is called Black Box Poems. The Middle Beast will be available later on. So let me begin. It's written in the beat style, beat generation way, but I clipped out and tried to curb the profanity for this occasion. I sing the Middle Beast. Since the old gods abandoned the Middle Beast, post-human prophets cry cringe. No one sings love anymore. No more singing. Children choke on dust, chuckling on pebbles out of rubble. Instead of tasting chocolate, Gaza children convert death to chocolate. We have all relied on African blood chocolate, chocolate chambers, torture chambers, bitterness, pain, and pleasure, colonization, the exotic, dreaming of the other, singing silence, the only utterable joy, far, far away in another mental galaxy, a dream locked in a black box. The Palestinian child whispers, Mom, it is better to die if there is a loaf of bread and chocolate in the afterlife. To die perchance with a toy in hand, quoting Pinocchio in the afterlife, the chocolate knows. As it gets longer with prayer and head banging, knee breaking with God's promises, through people many gods sigh, and the man, Amen, carries less as salvation is an enormous dog, Cerberus, chained by Colossus. Carve it, write it, whose desire is a pen, Pan is the one doomed, whose body of words is stretched over notebooks and cities, the enslaved black people, Talmud golems, bodies stitched together. We are all cyborgs, cries the post-human prophet. All priests, rabbi, imams sigh together. The due atonement, the guilt, caress me softly, make me music, translate me into sounds that I do not make. But I am the black box. I, the cello box, the symphonic womb of goddesses. I swear the heart knows the beat. When the rabbi backrubs the imam, images crack on the holy waters, and the imam backrubs the rabbi, talking about Abraham. Did it truly mean nothing to you? The evangelist, the imam, and the rabbi, looking at one another confused, as all these 99 unwanted dark-skinned children, poems to be recited, tingle in their black boxes, at least 99 beautiful name songs, all fighting each other for a single melody. That won't last, but no difference in the iron of the blood, the carbon, and the atom. Post-human prophet sings, but no difference in the sounds when they cry, laugh, or shriek. When Christians kill Jews, Jews kill Muslims, Muslims kill Christians, reverse the order, mix it ad infinitum. God is a DJ. Ring my bell, the church bell, my pleasure bell a bell, the holy murderous triangles. Who scares death with the petty deaths? Butchers of life. Won't you hush? Rinse and repeat, sin, sin, sin, and voila, we're all singing for absolution in our black boxes, for the voice mingle with air and breath and become a wind. Crush the Golgotha, militarism, mitigating pleasure, crush it hard and juicy like the grapes of wrath. But you must keep on singing. I sing America. I too sing America. I sing the Middle Beast. What do you sing? Thank you.
Hello. I want to begin with a quote from the Epic of Gilgamesh. It's towards the end of the epic where our hero has finally matured and started seeing the worth of life and this is a kind of oath. And I thought it was very touching and guilt-ridden. I shall read this because to be living in comfort, to be witnessing a genocide from the warmth of our homes, holding our children's hands, is painful. So this is what the epic tells us to do. Savor your food. Make each of your days a delight. Bathe and anoint yourself. Wear bright clothes that are sparkling clean. Let music and dancing fill your house. Love the child that holds you by the hand, and give your wife pleasure in your embrace. That is the best way for a man to live. Alas, many can't do that. So my poem was inspired by Rilke's Antitrophes, wherein he writes about the courage of women. So it's for the women of Palestine, of Gaza. Song of the Lonely Woman. I leave no prayers to these torpid waters, whom I shall never name, for I have no land to call my own, and no child to hold by hand. I drink no more of the golden harvest that was once your gaze, so wild a caravan you were, wrought out of promised poisons. Out in the wilderness, I search year after year, the voice that was my own. Each rose is a promise without a garden, each memory a cloak I shall never wear. I grant no bliss like the blessed. I am no bread before the changing. No patience of prophets I bear. No protection of mine can save. But the pomegranate we once broke still burns within our caves, and the stillness we once sought is nearer than your face. To each child dead, we bequeath no oak to sprawl in their place. Ours is a seed so dark it shines, a hot stone for a heart, a scorched sky for stars. From the sleeper flows a new river. Its silt is you, where I shall swim, a weightless cloud, an aimless water, my child, my heart, my beginning, my end. Thank you.
As we close this session of Voices United in Solidarity for Palestine, I want to thank each poet for sharing your heart and truth. Your words remind us that art is resistance, empathy is action, and justice is our shared horizon. To the people of Palestine, we see you, we stand with you. Poetry may not be able to save the world, but it can and should make it just a little bit better. Thank you all for watching.
جزوه از شیر گرفته شدن. حواسش پرت شد و به پشت سری گفت تو بر می گردی؟ به زخم اسب بر زغال آخته، به خاک و عرق با اعصاب تازه کار، پیکی که 4 نعل می ریزد به صف کبک می زند و بلیدهای نیم سوخته بر بنه دارند. کوتاه شدم از بس، سنگ را برداشتم و سر را گذاشتم و نامه شما را خواندم. نوشته بودید نشد، حالا برمیگردید. من با مورچه های سرخ به یاد می آورم خون عزیزم را که لختی از ساقهاش را برای شفیرهاش تبرک می برد. برگشته از گور دست جمعی، آنجا که یکی قوزک جوان زده سبزابی سوز صبح خاوران سود میزند که خیالم نیست تو برمیگردی. با بلیط های نیم سوخته بزنیم بیرون به سمت تا آنجا که کمی از بیشتر که نمی شود بس. به صف کرده آمدیم بر آب بنشینیم، زنهارم دادند. از ساقهای آن تخت سینه‌ام آن برادرم بردارم برای شفیره هام، زیر سینه بگیرمشان و از اضطراب بالا بروم و آنطور که کسی فرصت کند تا بنویسد بخوانم. ای بچه‌ای که سوار ماهی، زرد و قرنفل خیس و سیاهی، علا کلنگت آوار خیسه، پاروی پرمو دست خسیسه. اول شمردی آخر شمردی، ترست نمیریخت تا که نمردی. پستان مامان تریاک لب ریخت، مشق مکافات الله اکبر. ای بچه‌ای که شاگرد اول، تو مغز آبی آدم حسابی. وقتی رسیدیم تا اونور آب، یادت بمونه قنداق و قنداب. شیر شفیره کی رو لبات ریخت، مامان تو کی از شاخ آویخت. مامان سبزه مامان بیباک، دندون خوشاب چشمای پرخاک. کسی فرصت کرده بود تا بنویسد، اما حواسش پرت شد و به پشت سری گفت تو برمیگردی.
Hello everyone, this is Tannaz Tagizadeh, poet, writer, translator based in Toronto. Happy to be here and thank you to Pamanar Press and Ghazal Mossadegh for organizing these readings. I'm going to read you some poems by Zia Mowahed. Me and Ghazal had the privilege of listening to him growing up. His words are just magical and we thought to bring his magic to you today. I'm going to read the poems first in Farsi and then the translations by Ghazal Mossadegh in English. Zia Mowahed, born 1943, is an Iranian poet and philosopher. He studied physics in Tehran and earned his PhD in philosophy at University College London. تدفین. پزشک قانونی گفت خاکش کنید، مرده. میخواستند با کودکان غزه زنده به گورم کنند. من با پریدن از خواب از چنگشان گریختم. اما کودکان. Burial. The subject is deceased. Bury him, the coroner says. And they are about to bury me, alive, along the children of Gaza. I tear myself free by jolting awake. But the children? پاییز غزه. پاییز غزه را هر سال با دالان‌های رنگین برگ می شناختم. اما امسال پاییز غزه را با دالان‌های خونین مرگ شناختم. چه رنگ‌هایی دارد پاییز. The autumn of Gaza. The corridors of colored leaves were what I once knew of the autumn of Gaza. Come this year, I came to know the corridors of carnage, of blood, what colors autumn can hold. گفتگو. به پیچک باغ گفتم اگر تکیه‌گاهی نیابی آواز سبزت را کسی نخواهد شنید. گفت به درختان سوخته باغ نگاه کن. A conversation. I tell the ivy, if you find no hold, who is to hear your green song? Why can't you, the ivy says, hear the charred trees in the garden? شب و دریا. نشستم با شب و به دریا می اندیشم که چنین آرام و بی خیال و خبر نشسته بر فراز سونامی سهمناک به دریا می اندیشم و از دریا می اندیشم. The sea and night. Settled beside the night, I reflect on the sea, perching calm, indifferent, heedless, above a tsunami. I brood over the sea broods at me.
Hello everyone, my name is Noah. I am a poet from the city of Soleimani in the Kurdistan region of Iraq. Today I'm going to be reading 3 poems in solidarity with all the people oppressed all over the world. And the first poem is in Kurdish, written by Rafiq Sabi. It's a traditional kind of Kurdish traditional elegy, and it's for the people in the city of Halabja who were killed by a chemical weapon. 5,000 people were killed. It was a genocide done by the Ba'ath regime in 1988, and the poem is called Lawhi Halabja. بتنیا جی مهیلن امشو زریان دی چنت تمومش دای دپوشت مانگشو دی رفینت گروی بگزن ترکن زامکانی بشیلان بگورانی دای پوشن یان بسوزی دارستان سری بشکولان کن با امشو رای جنت بالای لهور بگرن بروسکه و بادی چنت بتنیا جی مهیلن منزالکی لاسارا شار بردباران دکات مانگ دەکات بە کۆلارە سوارە چ شۆڕە سوارێ ئەسپی هەتا و زین دەکات بە گۆرانی و تیشک و ماچ سەرزەمین بەرین دەکات با کەژاوەی لە گوڵا بێت یان لە پەلکەزێ ڕینا زەماوەندی خوێن دەگرێت ئەم شەو پاشای ئەڤینە عاشقێکی لاسارە بروسکە و با دەچێنێت بە تەنیا جێی مەهێڵن مانگە شەو دەیڕفێنێت. And the next poem is by Warsanshire from Somal. It's called Home. No one wants to leave home unless home is the mouth of a shark. You only run for the border when you see the whole city running as well. Your neighbor running faster than you, breath bloody in their throats, the boy you went to school with who kissed you dizzy behind the old tin factory is holding a gun bigger than his body. You only leave home when home won't you let you stay. No one leaves home unless home chases you. Fire under feet, hot blood in your belly. It's not something you ever thought of doing until the blade burned threads into your neck, and even then you carried the anthem under your breath, only to tear up your passport in an airport toilet, sobbing as each mouthful of paper made it clear that you wouldn't be going back. You have to understand that no one puts their children in a boat unless the water is safer than the land. No one burns their palms under the trains, beneath carriages. No one spends days and nights in the stomach of a truck feeding on newspaper unless the miles traveled means something more than journey. No one crawls under fences. No one wants to be beaten, pitied. No one chooses refugee camps or strip search where your body is left aching, or prison, because prison is safer than a city of fire. And one prison guard in the night is better than a truckload of men who look like your father. No one could take it, no one could stomach it, no one's skin would be tough enough. The go-home blacks, refugees, dirty immigrants, asylum seekers, sucking our country dry, niggers with their hands out, they smell strange, savages. messed up their country, and now they want to mess ours up. How do the words, the dirty looks, roll off your backs? Maybe because the blow is softer than a limb torn off, or the words are more tender than 14 men between your legs, or the insults are easier than to swallow than rubble, than bone, than your child's body in pieces. I want to go home, but home is the mouth of a shark. Home is the barrel of the gun, and no one would leave home unless home chased you to the shore. Unless home told you to quicken your legs, leave your clothes behind, crawl through the desert, wade through the oceans, drown, save, be hunger, beg, forget pride. Your survival is more important. No one leaves home until home is a sweaty voice in your ear saying, leave, run away from me now. I don't know what I've become, but I know that anywhere is safer than here. And my next poem is another Kurdish poem written by Pakhshan Azizi, a Kurdish poet from Eastern Kurdistan under the Islamic Republic of Iran. The content of the poem is against execution, and it goes like this. سيري بريس داركن نانبت حتى هالبيت لدارستاني آمنة كوتري آشتي أهرب بقريت خوني مناڵانی دەریا دایکی ئاوارە دەنێژن کێ دەتوانێت لەم وڵاتە ڕێ لە باران و گوڵ بگرێت تفەنگی دەستی تۆ لانکە و لایلایی بۆ دەخوێنێ تا نیشتیمان لە باوەشتا هەتا کازیوە دێ بنوێ پەنجەکانت لە ڕووبارن لە خاکیشدا سرود دەڵێن تا خاکی سووری نیشتیمان لەم پاییزە گوڵ بگرێت کە گولەی دوژمنی دێرین بەرزی باڵات زامدار دەکات ئەڵەی دەریای ماسی سوور لە باوەشتا ئەوقرە دەگرێت تۆ شۆڕەبیت مەل دەزانێت شۆڕەبی بە پێوە دەمرێت. Thank you so much.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Nawa. Nawa Amin is a poet, translator, and writer whose debut poetry collection, Stagnant Ray, was published in South Kurdistan by Balinde earlier this year. She earned her BA in English education from the University of Suleimani, also earlier this year. It's a pleasure to be here. Oh, there's a plane flying over me. And to participate again this year. I've been logging on throughout the reading so far, and it's always fun to log in and listen for a while. And to really feel that unity all around the world. I'm going to read a poem now by a Kirmanshki poet from North Kurdistan. This is a poem from an anthology that Giar, Homer, and I translated and published last year. And the poem is by Ohir Sermiyan. It's called Simur. I am a word in a language that has long remained only in songs. I am a carved stone that has long remained beneath the mud and hills. I have remained foreign and callow. I have remained oblivious and uncomprehending. I have remained with neither wine nor cup. My hands and feet are tied tight. Alas, with my buds and flowers. I have remained beneath avalanches. My hopes don't easily blossom. My fields are deserted in the spring. They say you swore solemn oaths. They say you have done what is forbidden. They say that you have prostrated yourself on a sweaty chest. I am such a sinner that neither heaven nor hell will take me. I am an irredeemable wretch stuck in purgatory. I am a simurg with a cauterized wound, stuck on Mount Kaf. Oh, my heart, what did you bring upon me? Why did you muddy my clear water with your lips? Neither the princes of my country nor of others wanted me. They held me at a distance. Where should I go? What should I do? Oh, you generous God, tell me, how can I make you happy? Like a nightingale with neither feathers nor nest, I have remained on the plains with neither trees nor rocks. I am far from my land. Poor me, stuck in distant lands. Next, I'm going to read the poem you heard by Khoshman Kado, the incredible poet from Rojava who writes in both Kurmanji and in Arabic. This poem is called Streets, and it was translated by Zedan Khelef and I. Streets. On our street, the moon forgot its leg. No one trips over it. In the middle of the night, only the dogs tear into it. None is happy with their ration, their hungry eyes insatiable. And so their barking is extinguished by the crinkling of plastic bags. Dogs barking does not annoy me. Perhaps it is the only indisputable perception, especially when the power cuts out at this time of night. No one trusts the city streets any longer, and the streets trust no one either. The buildings, too, tip their gutters to pour their algae into mute life. The gutters are mysteries of thirst, and so the roofs drive the water into them. Outside every house, there is a diminutive dream that complains about the high walls that surround it. Only the windows smile at the sparrows, the only ones who can reach them. The neighborhood children lay the rubble they've made of the walls on the street like a rug. Children turn everything into games, and then forget to play them. The streets, too, break the children's hearts with their emptiness. Only dogs lie in their arms. Children and streets are both twins and enemies at the same time, neither sufficient for the other's dreams. Only abandonment changes minds and stokes the waves of forgetting. In children's minds, time, too, pampers itself like a bride, becomes a candy to be enjoyed on the feast day. I'm going to introduce Briar to finish this segment. Briar Bajalan is a multidisciplinary artist, or so I hear, and a longtime collaborator and co-translator. He's going to be reading several poems today, including a very special translation from his mother tongue. Thank you, Briar, for joining us and for taking us home today.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Shuk, for the beautiful poem. This poem is from my mother tongue. It's one of the endangered languages, and it's by Banan. It's from Kalhuri, Laki. هرچند شکت و مینگی ملقد وشک و تینگی هرچند لناو هر دو چود کفتی شون پای خود الس که وقت خونیه وقت بسان چونیه بوتال جای کرو کرو مکرو ریا و نن و درو بچین تا دشت و چول و کو تنو مرزان روژ و شو زمین دی جای ایمن نیه خدای ایمن نیه. And this is the English translation by Shuk and I. I know you, tired and exhausted, your throat dry and thirsty. I know inside your eyes follows the steps of your sleep. Wake up, it's not time for sleep. It's not time for closing your eyes. Come, let's leave this place of hate, this place of pure hate, this place of cunning, hypocrisy, and shame. Let's go to the empty lands of the mountains, the borders between night and day. This land is not ours anymore, and this God is not ours.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Nadi. I'm a writer and an electronic musician. Today I will be reading an original poem. The air is so dry, it has made a desert of me. Parched, hair wild with static, gold flaking off the rolling hills. Everything and everyone I love, one spark away from fire. I am a fever. I am a dried rose. I long for a moment of forgiveness. Please, a cool hand pressed to my forehead. They have woven their violence into our everyday, spilled our blood on the sacred and the ordinary. Yet still, the white storks drift southward in patient lines. Slow hovering starlings gorge on figs until they sway with sweetness. The sunbirds drink from the flowers, their throats flashing metallic blue and rust. The pomegranates, swollen with waiting, split along their seams, baring their jeweled teeth. Still, we pass small lanterns between our wounds, counting each loss and each blessing, beads clicking between trembling fingers. Still, the glittering sea lifts its breath and sighs our names against the ancient stone. We have our grief, an inheritance no one bothered to steal. And we have our sorrow, though it has worn thin by the many hands that barter with it. We share the colors of our dust-choked cities, their ochre shadows, their bruised dawns. We share the looks exchanged when a tear rips open the sky and the gut turns to stone, when the ground begins to shake and the only shelter becomes memory. I remember crossing from one land to another, hope drying on the tongue. I remember the curse. We return only when the hills turn to ash. and the promise the land will open its arms. We are here in the heart of the world, and it is breaking. You, made of salt wind and brush, do not turn away. Terror is near, but nearer still is the beating pulse beneath the skin of your wrist. Let everything touch you. The startling beauty, the maddening horror, the thin space between them where we tend to our gardens. Give me your hand. We must face our burning home, its smoke older than the seasons, with tenderness still intact. We must believe in something holy and electric. Let the last of the despair ease. Let the small mercies bloom in your chest. The heart keeps its own weather. It will summon a soft, enduring rain.
Marhaba. My name is Nadine Makarim. I currently manage a global education program that supports Palestinian students pursuing medical school in different countries. I am also the co-founder of Shutter Collective and a writer. This is my poem for the global reading in solidarity with Palestine. Shukran. More than 200 years ago came a year without the summer. A mountain on stolen land sent fumes of ash and sharp dust floating across the horizons. A rampage of tiny renegades transgressing fictional borders to suffocate the tyrants in their chairs. A rampage of debris sent ice-cold winds across the borders of empire. They called it a global climate anomaly and mourned the losses that inflicted their pockets. Today, the olives grow too large, and the wind carries a scent of stale salt. The white butterflies roam about too freely, without notion that the wide gray ether is not in their favor. The fruit trees shiver under the residual whine of a sonic boom. Their fruits latch onto the branches to save themselves from the deformity of a premature birth. Can they actually poison the air? A light pink hue and orange gradients in the afternoon that feigns God and deems us dreamers in the soft light of a miraculous sun. But there are no dreams where the windows are destitute, where scenery and scaffolding succumb to the whim of the enemy, where thunder, bringer of rain, grows fangs and is mistaken for a monster in the sky. More than 200 years ago, the kingdom of Tambora, still sovereign under the sulking spread of the occupiers, disintegrated completely, leaving a trail of charred rice fields and black water. Today, bodies covered in bejeweled beachwear sit sprawled along the coastline, escaping the cool, cold, barren winter of their own homes. Today, families peel winter's clementines in a cloud of scorching heat, the strong scent lingering on their fingers, reminiscent of a fireplace in the safe comfort of home, in the safe comfort of land and garden and cluttered, colorful roofs. Maybe another volcano will chase away the planes in the sky that capture the rain before it falls. An eruption of fervor, of a love more viscous and strong than any reservoir of burning molten rock. The indigenous earth the homebound winds, the trepidations in the soil are allowed to deprive us of summer, of winter, of generous spring and regenerating fall. But the monsters in the sky will not.
This is Rayyan Abdel Khaliq, a translator, a writer, and a DJ from Mount Lebanon. Samah Idris insinuated on December 4, 2013, the following: "Our issue with the Arab regime is an issue with oppression, criminality, corruption, and clientelism. Our problem with Israel is a problem with the entity itself, its regime, its state, its army, its institutions, its economy, its culture, its tourism, its industry, its agriculture, its right, its left, and its center." Idris is right to state that the issue with Israel is one with the entity itself. However, he does not address the following problematic. Can the struggle against the Zionist entity be resolved and won within the context of the current entities of the Arab regimes? Or even through the very notion of national identities? Or is it actually only solvable through a drastic reconfiguration of these entities? That is what history has shown before, with the path of the Palestinian revolution that has imposed transformations and contradictions on the reality of the established Arab entities from Syria to Lebanon to Jordan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and others. In its rise, the Palestinian revolution clashed objectively not only with the Zionist entity, but also with the national structure of the whole of the Arab regimes. It would be illusory to consider nationalist thought as being in contradiction with capitalism. The emergence of the state is conditional to the development of capitalist economic and social structures, and the divergence from and ultimately destruction of pre-capitalist structures. From there on in, the notion of entity and national identity, the finality of a certain entity and its relation to other entities, are concepts that cannot come into being without the centralized establishment of a bourgeois state apparatus that governs society under the cover of a national identity, be it Arab, Levantine, Lebanese, Syrian, Islamic, Christian, or other. All constitute an ideological cover for the dominating bourgeois regime itself. The ideological premises from which nationalist thought stems to confront the dependency on imperialism are in no fundamental contradiction with imperialism itself. They share the same thought structure, that is, the bourgeois governance system with which they identify. For this reason, we see that the Arab nationalist regimes that emerged in the last decades of the 20th century have proven over time that they were no different from the bourgeois client regimes. Indeed, the Arab nationalist regimes have renewed their relation to and identification with the interests of imperialism, even if the degree to which they identify with those interests may differ. The structural crisis of nationalist thought, from its left to its center to its right, lies in the fact that it lives on those contradictions that characterize the capitalist system and cannot part with them. It is itself an articulation of the attempt by that bourgeois ideological structure to conceive new identities in order to maintain its ideological dominance in renewed ideological clothing. Going back to Idris's depiction of the struggle against Israel as an existential one, in contrast to the struggles with the Arab regimes, with the latter reduced to a mere struggle against tyranny and other internal affairs, we ask, how can Palestine be liberated? How can a project of resistance be sustained through the existing structures of the Arab regimes, or through the national bourgeois apparatus in the context of the shift and alliances that are sprouting on the regional and international political theaters? The answer to this question can come not as an entity's revolution or a national revolution, but a permanent revolution that arises from the structural contradictions in Arab societies. The social, economic, and political problems that arise on the political level cannot be solved by any bourgeois refurbishment of the established regimes in their own national space. They can only be solved by the overthrow of the system of bourgeois rule and by defying the system of class dominance in general. The issue of the revolution gives the resistance another dimension and poses an essential problematic on the current resistance cases. Can the Zionist entity collapse? Can the US and EU be stopped without a radical break with the bourgeois structure that legitimizes foreign interference and dominance? Will the Arab bourgeoisie relinquish their common interests with the American or Israeli bourgeoisie in order to liberate Palestine? Will the Iranian regime, for instance, give up the necessity to integrate into the world oil market? Will the Syrian regime give up its economic relations with Western regimes? Naturally, the answer is no, because we live in a highly interlaced world economy. The myth of self-sufficiency is nothing but a myth. All the attempts at self-sufficiency have shown that its proponents will align themselves sooner or later with one of the great capitalist poles. This is not caused by a degeneration of values among the bourgeoisie. It is a natural consequence of the interlacements of interests between the regional and the foreign bourgeoisies, particularly when the former is placed in the position of defending its hegemony against the rise of class struggle. That interlacement is part of the global capitalist fabric in which we live and which is still in a position of dominance, even if it is faltering. Therefore, we cannot but see liberation from imperialism and occupation as part of the process of social liberation. It enters the process of class struggle, not from the realm of economics, but also from its social, ideological, and cultural perspective. Liberation and emancipation are not two distinct phases in a successive program, but two sides of the same struggle. The struggle for the organization of the working class in the region on an independent struggle, but also as a step towards on an independent revolutionary basis. This is not only needed to develop the purely economic trade unionist struggle, but also as a step towards the achievement of real liberation and the fracture of the system on which imperialism subsists and through which it controls the region, that is, the capitalist system that governs all of our lives. Mass resistance is no longer the hypothetical issue it used to be, one that was rebuffed by many for its irrelevance. It has become a historical necessity for the emancipation of the people of the Middle East, not only from occupation and imperialism, but also from dictatorship, tyranny, oppression, and exploitation. Without mass resistance, a human salvation will remain a mere dream, not an actual serious project waiting for the conditions of its fulfillment. Being a realist today does not mean depending on a structure that emerged not so long ago out of the destruction of existing resistance organizations, but it is by building structures of radically different class nature from the ones that were built for past defeats. Hezbollah has ended the Israeli occupation of South Lebanon, but may not be capable of putting an end to Israeli threat or imperialist hegemony. Therefore, all those who consider themselves revolutionaries must answer these essential questions. How do we really emancipate ourselves from imperialism? And how can Palestine really be free? Not only through delusional hopes resting on regimes that will abandon any project that clashes with their bourgeois hegemonic interests, as they have done in the past. It is only through revolution that it is possible to break dependency, clientelism, occupation, oppression, tyranny, and exploitation, and their resulting culture. It cannot be done through delusions based on the hope that some bourgeois apparatus, Arab or otherwise, might carry us to a better tomorrow. We know in advance that this will never happen, as any improved social situation will clash with bourgeois dominance and bourgeois interests. Change will only be made by the revolutionary masses, for it is in their core interests. This was Bassem Sheet. from his article Nationalism, Resistance and Revolution, published in January 2014, just 8 months before he died at the age of 35 due to a heart attack. Bassem was a revolutionary thinker and a writer who founded the Marxist journal Al-Thawra Al-Da'ima, Permanent Revolution, which this reading is from. Thank you. And down with imperialism, the nation state, and free Palestine.
Hi everyone, my name is Noor Turkmani and I'm reading 4 shortish poems from Lisbon. The first poem is Garden. I love your elbows, that dark region where your lungs open beneath my fingers, touching me like a gash. In the crowd, it is your eyes I find, singing me the oldest song once we reach the garden. The cactus and bony branches, damp grass under a moon, so many fruits. With you, I am never hungry, only hungering. I mean, in the room of your arm, this nest, I am 2 birds and it is night again. No, this song cannot die. I mean, here's a mountain, then an earthquake. Hold me still until. The second poem is Epilogue as Preface, which is actually, which I wrote exactly this time last year. I started to write in my head exactly this time last year. It was when the ceasefire between Lebanon and Israel was being negotiated, and there was a red dot over my neighborhood in Hamra. And I was not in Hamra. I was very lucky to be outside of Lebanon when the war escalated, when Israel's war in Lebanon escalated. And I remember in the haze of my fear and anguish, I was thinking a lot of, my library, which I always say I was, I'm kind of ashamed to have been thinking of, but I was thinking of my books. So this poem is called Epilogue as Preface. Suppose the nightmare happens, your library on fire, pages burning, commas ashed. Suppose the shrapnel, the haze. Suppose it is the last day and there isn't a shelf to lean on. What remains? Not the buildings and billboards, the spice jars, the whiskey that never spoils. Not an olive or an orange. Not our mouths and names, not doom or this moment, only memory. Barely an image, color of the sea, a deepest blue. Your voice, which is mine and smiling. I almost hear it. It is telling me to cross. My third poem is Animal Grief. I also wrote this when the Green Southerners, an incredible environmental grassroots group in Lebanon, released a photo of a jackal, and a lot of wild animals had sort of gone into hiding or migrated or moved away because of how horrible the white phosphorus bombs and the explosions by Israel in the south of Lebanon were, and so the Green Southerners spotted a jackal and took a photo of it, and I saw it being circulated on social media. And that kind of pushed me to write this poem. Animal Grief. A jackal returns to the border town of Aitagun after a year of phosphorus bombs. June, wasn't it? Years ago when we swam in the opal sea of Naura, also a border town. How strange to be 30 and for those words, years and ago, to bear such weight. Do you remember? We had fish, split open pomegranates and lazed into the afternoon. On our way home to Beirut, the sky curious like a face, You said border towns are the most beautiful, their existence depending on make-believe. Like us, they inherit illusion, then displacement. The jackal's ancestor was the 2 million-year-old river dog, roaming what is now southern Europe. A fossil found near Beirut tells us this. Now, its descendant stands in a field after a war that is over, but not yet. Jackal, from the Turkish jackal, from the Persian shagal. This legacy of naming, or theft. The disappointment of the jackal's gaze. What does it see that we don't? All day I've wondered about you, your orchards, the orange and lemon trees in the heat, your ache trapped like a root. Of all the things I can envy a jackal for, its instinct to mate for life, the shed of its coat from red to tawny dark, the trot of its feet slipping into valleys and forests to feign a perfect death. It is the howl that haunts me. The rise and fall of sound as midday descends to night and night becomes chorus. I imagine us on the Nauga cliff, the jackal above, a whale thin as wind we imitated, hesitant as we've been taught to be until, without warning, our lungs yield. A cry, wild and guttural, rips through towns and settlements, hurling the language off our chest, this room we've tucked terror in, this terror that knows no borders, every stone and trunk hurtling down river valleys, over gorges, past the falls, we howl and howl and howl into the livid mouth of the year. I'll end on a very short poem that's still unnamed, but for now let's call it October 7, 2024. We are one swollen throat. We live inside a pain we cannot swallow. Our thoughts convulse like a tablet in water. There's something catastrophic about language, how suddenly it dissolves. Now, this new drink, this old dictionary, who will teach us to read it? Thank you.
مرحبا، أنا اسمي ربا، بشتغل بمجال العمل الاجتماعي. بالغلط جيت على الشعر وبكتير صح صار الشعر جزء كتير كبير من حياتي ومن علاقتي بالعالم، خاصة اللي بطلوا بجسدهم معنا. رح كون عم بقرا شي كتبته من بعد ما مفروض كانت تخلص الحرب بلبنان، لأن مين قدر يكتب خلالها. أنت مثلي وهي مثلي وهم مثلنا، وبهذا المعنى كلنا مقاوم، كلنا على جبهة نحارب، ببنادق وجع نرشق الخوف، نراقب ونحارب. نحارب لوجودنا، لانتمائنا، نحارب لشجرة الزيتون، نحارب لتل الزعتر ورائحة الزعتر، للعنزة رنجس، لكل قطرة قدست أرضها، نحارب لكل دمعة ذرفت لقضية، نحارب لمجرد أننا ولدنا بهوية نحبها حتى لو لم نخترها، نحارب لهوية اختارتنا، لثقة عمياء كانت أم مبصرة، نحارب. فاحمل قلبك بيدك وحارب، واحملني لو أصابوا قلبك وأنا أحارب. فالبيت لنا والحب لنا وقصائد الدرويش لنا، وأبو المقاومة القاسي شئنا أم أبينا لنا. لحياة، لوجود، لوجه صارخ، أنا مثلهم وأنت مثلي، حارب على سطوح الجنوب أو في أزقة بيروت المزدحمة بالرهاب. هل ولد الجنوب مثلي ومثلك؟ أم هل ولد الرهاب مقاوما؟ أم هل تعددت الجبهات وحكم علينا إلى أبد الآبدين وفي كل الميادين أن نحارب. انتهت الحرب وعاد كل إلى مسقط رأسه، وسقطت أنا فوق قبرك غصنا يبحث عن هواء، ثمرة لم تنضج تبحث عن جذور اقتلعت قسرا وجبرت على الحياة بينهم. لم أثمر، لم أزهر، ولست أقف شامخة، سرت الكثير من الكيلومترات وهو أمر ليس من شيم الشجر. سرت الكثير من الكيلومترات وسقطت فوق قبرك. توقفت عن البحث، فما الفائدة؟ فالحقيقة واحدة، أنت تحت التراب وأنا فوقه. قلب لا ينبض رغم تسارع دقاته، عقل لا يعمل رغم تهافت أفكاره. سقطت فوق قبرك وسقط آلاف الشهداء، سقطت أوراق كثيرة، سقط المطر، سقط النظام، سقط شعري، سقط قلمي وسقط شعري، وسقطت أنا هنا مسقط رأسي.
Hello again, everyone. A day after we started this reading, we are here for the final hour of the 24 hours reading in solidarity with Palestine and for freedom of expression. It's been an incredible 24 hours of hearing all these voices in this shared space of resistance. I'd like to thank everyone who read and shared their voice, but rather my friends and colleagues, presses, poetry organizations, collectives from around the world want me that on their behalf I thank Palestinian writers who shared their voices with us and thank the space for us to be able to read for freedom of expression and for solidarity with Palestine. In this hour, we hear from Palestinians inside Palestine and in diaspora, thanks to Ala Al-Ghaisi and Batul Al-Aghlain for connecting with people, inviting them, and just creating this wonderful reading. I am not taking much of your time. Munir Nusayba will return to the room, but the life of a Palestinian legal scholar, he's in and out of meetings on a Sunday. So I think at some point he will just will come to the room and talk to everyone. And by the way, it snowed behind my back since yesterday, so hope you can see it. And the sun is rising over here. We hope for the sun to rise. We listen from poets in Palestine.
Heather, you feel free to go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for giving me this chance to be with you today in this important event. I truly appreciate every single effort you're trying to do to raise the voices of resistance around the world. And I want to thank everyone participated in this important event. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Khalid al-Ghazali, a 21-year-old Palestinian poet. I was born in Gaza and I arrived in Italy a week ago from Gaza. I got a scholarship to study international European legal and comparative in the University of Mashhad. Today I will recite three of my poems. Two of them were originally written in the Arabic language. They were translated into English by Dr. Zainab al-Qaisi, my translator. So, yeah, I will recite my first poem. The census officer will come. He will inspect the streets and houses, and with a ballpoint pen, he will record our losses, then depart without seeing my heart. The census officer will come. He will inspect the streets and houses, then leave me to count my ruins with fingerless hands. This is the first poem. Second, its title is On Genocide. And yeah, it was translated by Dr. Zainab al-Qaisi. On genocide, wear my clothes, take my form and my desires, take my flat feet and my limping walk, live my love stories and my shame, befriend those who will not live long enough and grow too attached to them. Wake early as I do, wash your face with light, quench the thirsty wind, and dream, unaware that death comes gently to sleep. Take my life, perhaps then you will die. My last poem, I will recite it in Arabic language, and غدا أيتها الحياة الشقية سنعبر إلى الأخضر ورائحة الورد بقلبين متعانقين مثل أبدية نضحك ملء أحزاننا التي كسرت فينا أشياء لن تعود مقهورا حزينا وطافحا بالحب أمشي إليك وفي عيوني رماة يصيدون البهجة والفرح لم يجربوا بنادقهم ولم يجربوا الركض في البرية غدا أيتها الحياة سنأتي إليك عراة خفاة لا ننكر ظلالنا ولا قلوبنا التي عاشت الحزن ما يكفي لتعرف الحياة غدا أيتها الشقية سننزل حقولك جياعا ولا نأكل ونعبر ماءك لاهثين ولا نقترف ففي قلوبنا غانيات راقصات عاشقات يدنين قلوبهن منا ونشبع ويعبرن أسماءنا فيخلعن منها الكدر والتعب غدا أيتها الحياة الشقية سنأتي إليك بعد أن ندفن أطفالنا ونمسح عن أجسادهم التراب والدم ونكتب عليها قصصا يحبونها عن الحب الذي لونه أحمر وعن الجراح التي حضوا عليها لأنهم نجحوا في المدرسة عن دموعهم اليابسة التي حفرت جلدهم لأنها طريقة الدنيا في المزاح وعن دموعهم اليابسة التي حفرت جلدهم لأنها طريقة الدنيا في المزاح وعن ملابسهم الممزقة التي يحظى بها الذين يصيرون أحلامهم إننا أيتها الحياة نخاف الوحشة والظلام نضع أطفالنا في غرف ضيقة ومظلمة نطبق على صدورهم الرخام الثقيل ونختم إغلاقها ألا تجيبينني لماذا يحصل ذلك مع قلوب كان يوجعها الأمل سنأتي إليك أيتها الشقية ونزرع فيك حياة لا يعرفها أحد، لم يجربها أحد، يعيش الناس فيها ليلونوا السماء ويقطفون الغيم ويقيمون للفرح أغنيات وبيارات، بيوتا وحدائق وأحزانا عادية ومللا زجاجيا تكسره عطور النساء ورفق شفاههن. لأجلك أيتها الشقية تتعب قلوبنا في الحروب وتحذف من أجسادنا رشاقتها، فهلا أتيت كما تأتي الطيور والغيوم والأحزان؟ ألا تهاجرين من بلادك إلينا؟ ألست خفيفة على القلوب ما يكفي لتحملك الرياح؟ ألست رشيقة لتركضي إلينا كغزالة تراوغ السهام والحجارة؟ فالصخور تأتي إليها أزمنة تخرج منها المياه والشجر والجبال تستريح من حجارتها فتلقي بها إلى الأنهار والوديان. وقلبي شقية مشرحة نوافذه، لم تأته الصباحات ولا شعاع الشمس. فهلا أتيت مثل أغنية وأكثر على سواعدنا تعلمين النبات كيف يصعد، وفي كفينا يغرق خصر كل مائي. سنأتي إليك أيتها الشقية ريثما نكنس الشوارع من البارود والرصاص، ونلملم اللحم عن الركام والشجر، ونبكي كثيرا ونبكي. I missed the line. سنأتي إليك أيتها الشقية ريثما نكنس الشوارع من البارود والرصاص، ونلملم اللحم عن الركام والشجر، ونبكي كثيرا فتخرج دموعنا على شكل فرح وتسقط، على شكل حب وتسقط، تذوب وتختفي. لعلك جئت إلينا مرة مصادفة، مررت فوق جناح طير أو غيمة وألقيت نظرة إلينا ونحن نسحب أيامنا الثقيلة إلى الغد. ألم يخطر في بالك أن تهبطي إلينا وتسألي عن أحزاننا؟ ألم يخطر في بالك أن تصعدي أكتافنا لترين الأفق أوضح؟ أم أنك تعرفين أنه لا خبز لدينا ولا طعام ولا بيوت ولا مقاه ولا شوارع ولا فرح ولا حلوى نطعمك إياها ولا حلوى نطعمك إياها إن جئت؟ لا تعرفين أننا سنخبز لك قلوبنا ونبني لك الأسوار الملونة وتقيمين في عنادنا للعيش؟ أيتها الحياة الشقية لا
Unfortunately, it looks like we might have just lost Haidar. So Hisham, I'm going to bring you up. We'll give it one more moment to see if he comes back online. Okay, Hisham, I'm going to bring you up, and then if Haidar comes back, we'll bring him back on to finish this poem.
Okay. My name is Hisham. I'm a poet from Gaza, currently living in Istanbul. Thank you for this initiative. It keeps the
Hisham?
voices.
I'm sorry, Haidar just came back in. Before you get started, can we finish his poem? And
Okay.
then bring you back up?
That's okay.
Thank you.
What remains is the last paragraph. So yeah. أيتها الحياة الشقية لا تتنكري لنا، فنحن نعرفك جيدا. نراك في المطارات تعانقين الوافدين إليك والمغادرين، تحملين عنهم العناء وتزرعين لديهم الدهشة. نراك جيدا خلف هذه الأسوار العالية، خلف الدبابات والجنود والمدارس، تمشين وتزرعين الأرض بالود والبلور وأشجار السرو والمحبة، تمسحين المقاعد وتغسلين وجه المدن، تنظفين أسنانها وتضعين لها الكحل وأحمر الشفاه، تأخذين أطفالها إلى المدارس والحدائق وعشاقها إلى العناق. إني لا أسألك أن لم تقيمين لدينا لكنني مدين لك بأجوبة أريدها. لأجل ماذا أحببت طالما أنك بعيدة؟ لأجل ماذا حشوت صدري بالانتظار طالما أنك لا تجيئين؟ أيتها الحياة الشقية، إنني أنتظرك تحت طائرة لا تعرف سوى القتل والدماء. إنني أنتظرك ولا أملك الوفير من الوقت. Thank you. هشام.
Thank you, Haider. Again, my name is Hisham. I'm a poet from Gaza, currently living in Istanbul. Thank you for this initiative. It keeps the voices of the victims alive and present. In a few days, it will be 2 years since my 2 aunts and their entire families were killed in one moment in Rafah, southern Gaza. The last image burned into my mind. My aunt in the kitchen making falafel, their faces bright with laughter, while their 10 children played together in the outer hall. That was the final scene before everything went dark forever. I still don't know how to pull it out of my head. My aunt's 2 young women in the prime of life, beautiful and tender, each took her 6 children and went somewhere else. We buried them all in space no longer than 4 square meters. There were no bodies left, no bones in their proper places. They left without a funeral, without a decent farewell. My aunt Abir, we called her the genius of the family, had been among the top 10 students in all of Palestine when she finished high school. She chose to study programming for years. She was the keeper of my teenage secrets. My friend, my teacher, my big sister, after endless attempts and IVF treatments, she finally gave birth to Hala, then Saba, then Gina, Anas, Ahmed, and Yusuf. She worked at the Ministry of Education when Khan Yunis was invaded. She fled under a rain of missiles to the home of her gentle sister, Lubna, in Rafah, believing her 6 children would be safe there, believing she would return home once the war ended. That night, they were preparing falafel. They were so happy because at least they would eat falafel again. Then a single missile, swift, malicious, wicked, heavy, ended everything they had asked life for so little. And even that little was denied them. I wrote the poem you are about to hear the same night I received the news. The laughter is still trapped inside every line. صرخنا ولم يكن صراخا بل قيامة من الصراخ. أصغينا للموت ولم يكن إصغاء بل اختناقا به. وكنا ننظر في عينيك الرحيمتين أيها الموت ونقول نحن قطعة لحم عالقة في أسنانك، لحمنا قاس لكن عظامنا طرية. صرخنا ولم يكن صراخا، صرخنا حين لم يأتي أحد، صرخة عيسى في الجلجلة. إلهي إلهي لماذا تخليت عني؟ قم بكهانك وعرافيك وقتلتك أيها العالم، واركض مثل ثيران السباق في طريق الشمع الأحمر. لقد سقطت أسماؤنا من لغات لم نكن نعرفها، وسقطت مجازاتنا من فراديس علوية، وسقطت خلف كل شهيد يتقدمنا قلاع وأغنيات. انتظرنا مثلما تنتظر الأيدي وعودها، مثلما تنتظر الغابة وعولها. كيف تمر؟ كيف لجنازة أن تسرقنا؟ وكيف تقود مآتمنا الكلمات؟ غدا تكتب كل مراثيك أيها العالم بالدمع الرخيص وتقول كان تاريخي هنا واقفا كالكلب أمامي، كان تاريخا وقد زينته بالشمع الأحمر، أو توهمت بشعب يمزقني في رمحي العالي. Thank you.
Jihad, whenever you're ready, if you want to turn your camera on. Awesome.
Hi, I'm happy and glad to have this opportunity to be in this event. قصيدة بين القذائف. بين القذائف طائر لم يقلع، وبكاء ثكلى بعد صوت المدفع، فعلى المشانق علقت أشلاؤنا، ومشى النيام على حطام الأضلع. لم يبق موت لم نجربه، لم يبق موت لم نجربه، وكم ألف المنون ورودنا في المفجع. لا اليم منجي القوم يا موسى، ولا نوح على فلك ينادي من معي. من هول ما هطل المنون بدارنا، ما عدت أدري أي موت مصرعي. حين التقيت حبيبتي لم ألق إلا قلبها، ولم ألق إلا قلبها وحشا وعقلة أصبعي، فغشيت من أشلائها متوسلا كيف الوداع لجسمك المتقطع. فخضبت منها ما يبارك حبنا، فهوت ومحى قد هويت بأدمعي. إن كان لا بد العناق على الجوى، فاليوم ما عادت إلي بأذرعي. صرنا نحدث من تشابه ظلهم معهم ببعض مواضع أو موضع. حتى الغراب على المدينة فاستوت لجج الظلام بقلب كل مجوع. أمست بنا الذكرى بلا أوطان نعرفها، وصار الدرب مما لا نعي، وممزق نادى على أمس، فما بال الزمان مضى كأن لم يسمع. غابت عن الشرفات بسمة شاعر، وغدت قصيدته رثاء مودع. لو كان يدري ما أحل بنفسه، ما كان يعشق أو يتوق لمضجعي. هذه القصيدة الأولى. Now I will read the second poem. قصيدة في الحرب. وحين أموت اكتموا سر موتي، وأخفوا عن الصحب والأهل أني قتيل المهالك. لأني مللت تفرد عيشي، فكيف سأرضع اعتياد الممات وموت القوافل، موت الطريق بلا أي قبر، وقصفا بلا أي جدوى. تضيق بي الأرض أنزف روحا وشعرا وحبا وذكرى. أخاف الممات بصمت، وقلبي احتوى كل هذه المعارك. أخاف الفراق، وكنت وعدتك أني لأجلك هالك. وحين أموت وأصبح عبئا على من سيحصي الضحايا، فقط أنثر ذكرياتي وبعض خيالي صديقي عن العيش دهرا بلا أن زنانة أو تموج ريح الأعاصير فوق الخيام. وذكرى ممات أخيه وإخلاء منزله، صوت قصف وقصف وقصف، ودهر به صوت فيروز لا صوت دك القنابل. ودمعي على حاجز البعد ضلت خطانا، ولم ندري أي الملامح نحن، أم الآن نخلق يا موت من بؤس طول انتظارك. هنا حيث يغدو وجودك وهما، وليس يراك سواك. هنا حيث يغدو وجودك وهما وليس يراك سواك. تنام على الحلم تخنق عمق السحاب وتمضي لأن الهراء التمني. وسقفك سقف الصواريخ فوقك تحت احتمال السقوط. سيسقط حبل سمائك تغني عذول الحياة. كأن لعمرك عبء عليها. كأن الذين اخترعنا التمرد ثرنا عليها. كأن اختلال الثوابت منا فتثأر منا بموت شنيع ونفنى على قطع ستلملم كالأحجيات. ذراع وعين وبعض خيوط الأصابع. لا وقت يكفي القليل لتدفن. لا وقت يكفي القليل لتدفن. أنت الوحيد بكون عديد. وأنت الكثير بجسم قليل. وأنت الحسين بدهر يزيد. هنا سيدي لم تعد كربلاء. على كل درب هناك شهيد. شكرا.
مساء الخير. أنا هبة الأغا، فلسطينية من غزة، كاتبة ومدربة كتابة إبداعية أيضا، وأعمل في المجال الثقافي. خائفة يا الله، خائفة يا الله، كنت طيلة الوقت خائفة. أكلني القلق حتى شاب رأسي، وتقرحت جفوني من بكاء الليل الطويل. كانت الحرب تنهشني رويدا رويدا. كانت الحرب تنهشني رويدا رويدا وتمد يدها الطولى لتنتزع روحي مثل فسيلة. خائفة يا الله، حين دق الموت صدرنا كثيرا، وحين ناح الصغار عند قدمي لا نريد أن نموت. خائفة يا الله، حين خوت الأمعاء وطاردنا رغيف الخبز حتى فديناه، واشترينا القولون بأطعمة معلبة بعد أن كنا نحن حقلا طازجا. خائفة يا الله، حين صار الشارع بيتا وصار البيت خواء وصار الخواء في قلبي. خائفة يا الله، حين ارتعشنا من البرد وتبللت أغطية وحيدة وسحب الماء بقايا دفئنا فبردت روحي للأبد. خائفة يا الله، حين ماتت صديقتي ومشيت فوق قبرها هربة من الحرب وتسللت مثل قطة حملت صغارها في فمها إلى مجهول أفضل قليلا من الحرب. خائفة يا الله، حين ظننت أن الحرب نتركها إن خرجنا، فوجدتها في حقيبتي، في جيوبي، في مناماتي، وجدتها في ذاكرة الصغار والكبار، في صوت أمي. خائفة يا الله، حين وجدت على الشاشات حربا أخرى لا تشبهني، ومدينة أخرى لم أرها إلا بكل حلاوتها، فعاد قلبي خاويا بلا مدينة ولا بيت. خائفة يا الله، لأنني امرأة تحب الصباح والقهوة وهدهدة المواليد في السرير. لأنني امرأة تحب الصباح والقهوة وهدهدة المواليد في السرير، وتذهب إلى عملها مضطرة وتطبخ الباستا وتطعم الحب للعالم. فلا تريد يا الله مجددا أن تخاف. القصيدة الثانية أو النص الثاني اللي هو وقت غير صالح للطهو. تراوغ أم الوقت، تراوغ أم الوقت، تقارع أم الوقت، تراوغ أم الوقت، تخفيه في كفيها تارة وتحت شالها المزركش تارة أخرى. تغسل أم الوقت حين يداهمها الحر، أو تلبسه قميصا صيفيا، ثم تدرك فجأة أنها لم تعد في البيت. تقارع أم الوقت فوق عريشتها المؤقتة، تجدله حين تشتاق لنا كأنه شعر بناتها السبع، وتطعم الوقت أمنيات كانت لنا. تطهو أمنا الوقت حين يجوع إخوتي وتضع التوابل، ثم تصيره طعاما يبلل شفة اليبس، وتنادي الأجساد الهزيلة في العائلة على طبق كبير من الوقت. تقول أمي: سيكبر الوقت، سيبتلعنا في لحظة ما، سيأخذنا إلى مشاعه، سيمر من بين أصابعنا ومن فوق رؤوسنا المطهوة ومن تحت أرجلنا الثقيلة. سيمر الوقت وسيشرب من دمنا، ولن يعود صالحا للطهو أو المراوغة. وكما تقول فيروز: بيقولوا الوقت بيقتل الحب، هناك في عريشة أمي يقتل الوقت بقايا البلاد. شكرا.
Hello, this is Sumaya Abu Nada, sister of the late Palestinian poet Hiba Abu Nada, and I'm going to read one of her published and translated poems titled أعيذك. Hiba says, أعيذك في الفروض والاستخارة، وأرقي كل مأذنة وحارة. من الصاروخ لحظة كان أمرا من الجيران حتى صار غارة. أعيذك والصغار قبيل يهوي تغير بابتسامتها مساره. أعيذك والصغار هنا نيام كما نام الفراخ بحضن عش، ولا يمشون للأحلام ليلا لأن الموت نحو البيت يمشي. ودمع الأمهات غدا يماما ليتبعهم به في كل نعش. أعيد أبا الصغار وبعد قصف يشد البرج حتى لا يميل، يقول للحظة الموت ارحميني، فماذا لو تأخرت قليلا. يقول لأجلهم أحببت عمري، هبيهم مثلهم موتا جميلا. أعيذك أن تصابي أو تموتي بعز حصارنا وببطن حوتي. شوارعنا تسبح كل قصف وتدعو للمساجد والبيوت، فحين القصف يبدأ من شمال ستبدأ من جنوب بالقنوط. أعيذك أن تصابي أو تعاني، فقد حوطتك بالسبع المثاني. من الفسفور طعم البرتقال وألوان السحاب من الدخان. أعيذك إن من عشقا ومات سينقشع الغبار ويضحكان.
بيت في عقلي وحطام في الواقع. في عقلي أبني بيتا بشبابيك مرتفعة لا تعكس سوى الصمت. غير مهشمة إثر غارة قريبة تطل على بحر غزة حيث الأمواج لا تغرق الحالمين. في عقلي أبني بيتا بجدران شاهقة لا تعرف لغة الشظايا، لا تحمل ندوب الرصاص، غير مخرقة بثقب قذيفة. في عقلي ينهض بيت تضحك في صالونه الواسع عائلة ضحكاتها تملأ الفراغ دون خوف من غد تعيس. في عقلي بيت ملون زاه أرضه لا تسقى بدم شهيد أو ذكرى رحيل. في عقلي أبني بيتا لم تطأه قدم الحزن ولم يعرف طريقا للموت أو الفقد. في عقلي أبني بيتا ركيكا من ورق كلما اقتربت من نهايته تهدمه الحقيقة كعاصفة قوية لا تجابهها ورقة. في عقلي بيت مكون من عائلة بلا نقص، وبين أنقاض ذاكرتي أبحث عن بيت كامل، أفتش عن بيت خارق للطبيعة مضاد للصواريخ والقذائف، لكنني في الواقع أبحث عن طوب كي أرمم ذاكرتي المتهدمة وأجمع بقايا حلمي المتناثر كرماد في الريح. في عقلي أبني بيتا حيث السماء لا تمطر قذائف والأرض لا تبلع الناس، والبيت بيت لا خيمة.
لم يعد مهما أن يحبنا أحد. لم يعد مهما بعد اليوم أن يحبنا أحد. يكفي أن يحبنا الملاك العظيم في سمائه الناصعة. يراه أطفالنا واقفا في البعيد ضاما يديه في رسم قلب فيبتسمون. تراه نساؤنا ملوحا بياسمينة بيضاء فيغمضن عيونهن مرة وإلى الأبد. يرى رجالنا أجنحته الزرقاء الصافية كسماء فتنخطف قلوبهم ويشدون الرحال إليه. لم يعد مهما أن يحبنا أحد. الطائرات حررتنا من آذاننا التي كنا نسمع بها كلمات الحب. القذائف حررتنا من عيوننا التي كنا نرى بها نظرات الحب، وحررتنا الكلمات السود من قلوبنا التي كنا نرعى فيها تعاويذ الحب. لم يعد مهما أن يحبنا أحد في هذا العالم. يبدو على أي حال أنه كان حبا من طرف واحد، يقول شيوخنا المتعبون من فكرة الأرض، ويقف شاعرنا في الأفق البعيد ويهتف أنقذونا من هذا الحب القاسي، ثم يهمس معتذرا عن تفاؤل صبياني عابر: ليس على هذه الأرض ما يستحق الحياة. لم يعد مهما أن يحبنا أحد. تعبنا من كلمات تقال ولا تقال، ومن أيد تمتد ولا تمتد، ومن عيون ترى ولا ترى. تعبنا من أنفسنا في هذا الليل الطويل، وتعبنا من تشبث أمهاتنا بما بقي منا، ومن صخرة نحملها على ظهورنا لعنة أبدية ونمضي بها من هاوية إلى هاوية ومن موت لموت ولا نصل. لم يعد مهما بعد اليوم أن يحبنا أحد، ولا أن يرافقنا أحد في جنازة أنفسنا. ها نحن نمضي بصمت إلى تيه أخير، نمسك أيدي بعضنا بعضا ونتقدم وحيدين في صحراء العالم. في لحظة ما يلتفت طفل منا إلى الوراء، يلقي نظرة على الركام ويذرف دمعة أخيرة.
Bury the truths, rising voices, for all the blue fists killed in Gaza. It resembled us, That voice, grown from our anguish, carrying pain washed clean by dew, telling our stories with unheard tone, as if he spoke from behind a soundproof glass. A voice of ours, born of our wants, steady as dawn on Gaza's brow, like a sea resisting the blade of fate, like a field of anemones in spring's gentle glow, full of longing, even as it fades. It was just a voice, no weapon in hand, no blood in its breath, just a melody, perhaps thrown by the wind beyond the edge, or a whisper that reached the hearts of those who were numb to the truth. Why did they silence it? Was it because it looked like us? Because he loved the land? As if his soul were forged to her dust? Yes, it was a voice, a light from the heart when the sky turns black, illuminating ruin, gifting breath to hope. And so they feared it and buried it beneath the ground, without a tear, without even a tremble. But a voice born of truth is never laid to rest. It lingers in the dust, in the wind, in every heartbeat that dares to remember. One day it will rise again, not as a whisper, but as a storm. Between here and gone, how can I press a city to my chest, embrace its streets, its homes, its windows? How can my heart stretch wide to hold a longing this deep? And how can I kiss its wooden ground without my soul collapsing? How do I hold a scream so deep in the alley where I used to play? How do I wipe a silent tear on the stone where Dad once sat? How do I bring our laughs once more to streets we knew? And how do I say, I missed you so, without letting the heartbreak show? And how I mind my shadow on her time-worn stone, where every crack once knew me as its own. How do I walk the same streets of my young feet without the weight of all that's lost replayed? And how do I fear the raising call to prayer and not let tears betray my hidden cries? How do I say I had to go away when my soul never left? Gaza, how do one hug hold all your scattered cries? How can my heart survive the loss each day time your name goes by? I walk your streets, yet I am not there. I search your face, it's lost. You break inside me without a reason, I know why. Gaza still stands, but not the same. A shadow walks where once burned flame, and the ache left within my chest is deeper, harsher, a grief beyond a single death. If I must starve, let it be with dignity in my children's eyes, not with my hands tied by silence. Let the world witness that I didn't bow to the hunger, but stood even as the sky emptied and the earth closed her mouth. If I must starve, let it be while I still cradle my child's hope, not as a number lost in note thoughts. Let the sea carry my name to shores that forgot my people, and let the wind whisper She fed love when bread was gone.
Cabin crew, prepare for departure.
Some psychologists say that getting out of the box may be an appropriate solution. What happened to me, and through my experience, indicates otherwise. I got out of the square several times, which, after many years, exposed me to an assassination attempt in Wadi Burkhin that was almost realized at the time. Because frustration, slackening, and disregard for the security situation had hit me, and I become tired of this chase and repeated assassination attempts.
Another day on Malta in spring.
Mechanisms are for support and not for intrusion. I looked from the side of the window to the main gate of the house, and there were 3 soldiers standing in the yard. And with a quick thought, I decided to leave from the main door of the house, directly at the 3 soldiers, armed with the element of surprise and confusion. Because my exit to the main door was never expected. Because military science indicates that the siege takes the shape of a U-shape to preserve the lives of the soldiers. The main door is the only U-slot, and they will not be directly opposite the opening, but rather on the edge. And therefore, their readiness is poor. I thought about that within a few seconds, then implemented my decision and opened the gate.
نسيت في الحرب في الحرب في الحرب نسيت كيف أترك قلبي يغني كل صباح مع العصافير، كيف أوقد تنور الطابون بالحطب وأخبز المناقيش كي لا أتذوق طعم صديقي الذي كر من الجوع لجلب الطحين وعند الطابور احترق. في الحرب نسيت كيف أوقد النار لأصنع شاي الأعشاب التي قطفتها للتو من حديقتي. نسيت مذاقه مع لبنة جدتي المكدرة مع الزيت والزعتر كي لا أشم رائحة الدخان وأغمس لقمتي بأشلاء طفل مكورة مع البارود والعلق. في الحرب نسيت كيف أشعل فتيل الحب، أعيش الشوق بصمت وأنا أعزف الجيتار وأحترق. أغفو وبيدي وردة حمراء وأحلم بأني أهديها عند الغروب لحبيبة. مع الإبادة في لحظة قصف نسيت الورد الأحمر كي لا أرى البيوت محترقة. نسيت العناق كي لا أعود عاشقة ثكلى لحبيبة أسميتها وجعي كي لا نفترق. ولأنني وقبل الملقى ودعتها دفنتها في مقبرة. في الحرب نسيت كيف أهيئ نفسي لنوم هادئ كمن يجهز نفسه لانفجار وصاروخ ليوم عادي بلا جنازة. في الحرب نسيت أن أحيا، فذكروني ما قبل الموت بلحظة. سأبقى هنا لأن الجراح بأرض الجليل تثير الشعور وتجذب كل الحروف إليها لأبقى أغني. سأبقى لأن الغناء على شط عكا حنين عليه تحط جميع النوارس. لأن العناق، لأن اللقاء، لأن الهوى كله من نسيم البلاد. لأني أعشق ما لا يطاق. سأبقى هنا وأركب عصف الرياح العواتي اللواتي أبت تنحني للبغاة. سأبقى لأن الدروب هنا في بلادي تسيل بقهر شبيه لقهري، ورغم النزيف تعيد إلي شعور الحياة. سأبقى لأن الصغار هنا يدركون الإجابة مثلي، فإذ ما سألت الصغير بماذا ستحلم في الليل خبر، فينظر نحو السماء طويلا وينصت دهرا لهدر القذائف. يجيب بحزن لماذا أفكر في الأمر هذا وقد لا أعيش لوقت المساء، فإني هنا لا أعيش طويلا وفي أي لحظة أزيز الرصاص يمر بما قد أشاء وما قد أريد. هنا قد أعيش، هنا قد أعيش، هنا قد أموت. ومع كل هذا سأبقى هنا أحب الحياة. سأبقى هنا لأكتب عني
وعمن يقاسي حروف الحقيقة، لأن الكتابة في الحرب موت سريع، وفيها انتصار وفيها انتحار وفيها النجاة. سأكتب من ظلمات الكهوف لعلي أبعث ورد الصباح، لأن القصيدة كحد السيوف كرعد السماء، فكل الرصاص الذي أطلقوه لكتم الكلام، لقتل الحنين وقتل القديم وقتل الجديد، لأجل الإبادة يزيد الصمود، يزيد الإرادة.
مرحبا، أنا ضحى الكحلوت. ألقي نص اغتراب الذي كتبته لمدينة غزة بعد خروجي إلى فرنسا هذا العام في إبريل. دونك يا مدينة أمر على العمر مختبرة 5 حواس ومشاعر دون عدد، ألوح والأيادي كلها بدد، ألتقي الملامح أقربها إليك، تشبهين الحياة التي سهت عنك في رغد، وأفر لبحرك حين تصمت الأنهار والوديان دون موج أو زبد، ومع الريح يهب أريج جنتك التي سقطنا منها دون زلل. دونك يا مدينة أغترب في صدر صفحات الأخبار، وفي مرار العودة كل يوم إلى بيت لا ينتظرني فيه أحد.
اسمي الشريد، رأيت اسمي ممزقا ومكتوبا بالدم. اسمي الشريد تخلى عني وصار حشدا من الألم في وجوه النازحين. أقف طويلا أمام ذاتي متسائلا عن أحقية الفاجعة.
Our only crime. We carried no guns, only voices, and voices are harder to kill. We carved our names in silence so the echo would remember us when the world forgot. They told us, be quiet, live longer. But we were born from sound, from the breath that breaks walls, from the cry that reaches tone to weep. They buried our bodies and called it peace. But the soil kept singing, and every root became a tongue. They burned our box and called it safety. But smoke spelled our stories in the language of clouds. They shut the cameras, closed the eyes of the world, yet the dark itself began to testify. Our only crime was believing the truth could breathe, that ink is a kind of blood that refuses to dry, that a poem can stand where a body falls. We wrote because silence was a wound, and the wound wanted to speak. We sang because the air was too heavy for the living to carry alone. And even now, under rubble, under names erased, our syllables crawl out of the dust, shining like small rebellions. You can bury the singer, but not the song. You can silence a voice, but never the reason it was born. Because truth doesn't die. It only changes its tone. And even death, we speak.
Mihrab. Death visited me, withdrew between my ribs, made itself a mihrab from my grief for your absence. With every fugitive dusk, darkness floods from my eyes. Night falls over the city, and death looks at the arcs of my mind, chanting its hymns, calling people. They go towards their temporary death, while I go towards you, alone, insistent. I realize I'm conscious. My eyes become a crypt where I keep the wonders of our 1,001 nights. Its maze takes me to the empires of our memories. Death is a plant hidden within each memory. Who built this majestic castle over the ruins of absence? We live together in my dreams, in the depths of my conscious. We talk, you remind me, together we rode to death, together we called it, and together we sacrificed to God, but we refused my gift. You come as if you, and not I, were the terminated one, as if you, and not I, had swallowed the catastrophe, as if you, and not I, who choked by it. You calm my sorrow in the midst of its devotions, wake my confusion by wreath of your holy presence. Your voice is hidden between Andalusian stanzas. Your body swallows the glamour of pharaonic goddesses. You look like them, like a glorified myth. When you gaze at me, eye to eye, you break through me, albiterate me. Yours are the eyes that should come to mind when vision is mentioned. How can I live without wrath, without you close? You are so far away. I'm not consoled, and I'm not patient. Alone I looked for you. Alone I lived in absence. I found nothing but my shadow with two shapes.
Hi, this is Dima Ashur. I'm a writer from Gaza. I'm going to share now one of the poems that I have written during the genocide in Gaza and facing famine. A nutritional supplement. When we had to leave Gaza, I prefer living in a reality painted in a pencil, erasable at any moment on a paper. My dream could no longer find space at the displacement room. A room with 10 people inside, among them a 1-year-old child, building his dreams for his next 20 years. A sudden fainting spell interrupted his dream of growing. We took him to the doctor, who said, "He's clearly malnourished. Is he taking the nutritional supplement regularly?" A small packet, a strange sticky food that looks like peanut butter. A gift from Western's nation and some Arabs one. They send it in 3 colors so you will not feel bored. To those displaced from their homes, to us, as if we had the basic food for them to send us the supplement. Just like they send the winding sheet to complete the ritual of death. As if a person can only die with a winding sheet, just as he can only live with a nutritional supplement. Thank you.
القصيدة من ناصر رباح. الطاعون. منذ عام لم أسمع أغنية في الشارع، لم يرقص أحد في حفلة عرس، لم يأتي باص المدرسة ولم يذهب، وأحد لم يشتري وردة لأحد. منذ عام نوزع كعكة الحرب الكريهة، لم ننس طفلا ولم ننس أي حديقة، لا كتابا ولا أمنية. في النهار نمرن أعيننا السباحة في الدم فلا تبتل، وأن تخطئ في عد أطرافنا الناقصة. نمرنها في الليل كي تضيء الأسى، وأن تشعل النار في خشب الانتظار. منذ عام لم يحدث شيء، ولم يكف شيء عن الحدوث. نحن الضحية الأبدية المستحيلة، تبكي بصمت، نعم، وتصرخ حتى تشق ثوب السماء. نحن الضحية التي جرحها مئذنة، والتي دمها خلفها في الطريق إلى الجلجلة، والتي غير كل الضحايا لا ترى قاتل أبنائها، لا تراه في الدموع، لا تراه في القصيدة، لا تراه، لا تراه، لا أحد يمكنه رؤية الطاعون.
كأنك رحلت دونما وداع، طرقة طرقتين ثلاثة لا رد، وكأن الدرج ابتلع أجزاءك الأخيرة، آثارك عالقة داخلي، لكنها شفافة كقنديل عالق على شاطئ مزدحم. طرقة طرقتين ثلاثة، أفتح الباب بسرعة كي لا تهرب أوهامي، لتقابلني الوحدة باشتياق العائد للديار. التفت، يصفعني القدر لأعانق الوحدة، لأقبل الاشتياق، وسرح باروكة قلبي كي لا تتساقط. اختفيت للمرة الأولى، كأنك رحلت دونما وداع، وكأنك لم تجعلي من وسادتك بحرا ميتا. طرقة طرقتين ثلاثة، هل هذه نهاية أحزانك؟ هل ستترك المآسي أحضانك لتعانق من هم ذويك؟ طرقة طرقتين ثلاثة، أجول غرفتك بيأس العاجز، بيأس من تصنع القوة، وكأن الدموع خطيئة. وللمرة الأخيرة أنظر للباب الذي سرقك مني، كأنك رحلت دونما وداع. البرزخ. في الصباحات نلوم الشمس التي جعلتنا نحظى بيوم جديد، في المساءات نلوم القمر الذي لم يتستر على جراحنا، لم يكن حضنا نفترسه بالوحدة، لم يكن عناقنا بالشدة، جعل مسامراتنا مطولة مع ذاتنا القديمة، ذاتنا الضبابية كشتاء فوق أشلاء المدينة، حديث لا يحتاج كؤوس شاي ومناديل بجانب الضيافة، لا يحتاج لكأس قهوة، لرحيل الماضي، لرحيل ذاتنا، لا يحتاج لابتسامات مزيفة، فعيوننا نتأت أكاذيب، في مساءاتنا لا نرد أي ضيف عن مجالستنا، لا وحدة، لا دموع دامية، لا أرق فتح لنا أبواب العجز الواجمة. في الصباحات كرهنا كوننا لسنا ذاتنا القديمة، كرهنا شفيفة نزوات قلبنا. وفي المساءات كرهنا حاضرنا وماضينا، كرهنا أننا ذاتنا التي تعيش في تاريخ النكبات. حينما تقرأ الشعر كن العاشقة، كن الجريحة، كن المشتاقة، كن فهرس الكتاب ومقدمته، كن الشعر والشاعر والنقطة والفاصلة. حينها يمكن أن تطلق صوتك الأشبه بالكناري الذي وضع كزينة داخل الأقفاص، متناسين أنه عصفور، لكنهم لم يعلموه معنى الحرية.
أخرج الكلمات كنبض من القلب، أخرجها برعشة الحقيقة العالقة بالحلق، لونها في عيونك التي تسكن حيث القصيدة، دع المشاعر تلمع داخلك كالزبرجد على عنق ابنة السلطان. تلك الطريقة ستقرأ الشعر كما ولد ليقرأ، ولن يغضب أصحابه أسفل قبورهم.
In case of emergency. This is how you open the box when I am no longer here. One of these might be the combination. 1975, the year you were born. 1967, the year we lost the rest of our country. 1936, the year your grandmother swallowed her gold coins to hide them from the soldiers. This is how you keep yourself safe, keep parts of yourself in different boxes, trust no one with everything. 1949, the year my father died. 1979, the year the checkpoint taught you the difference between your name and your passport. 1999, the year the last of our olives were uprooted and the wall obscured Jerusalem. This is how you know it will end. When night falls, the windows of the city become mirrors. A key recalls the shape of its doorway. The stones of this land nestle in young hands.
Hello again, Munir, you're muted. We are here to thank everyone. Our 24 hours of reading is over, and we're a little bit it's 12 minutes past 24 hours. It's a great pleasure to be here and hear so many voices from Palestine and from around the world. I conclude this session by leaving the mic to Munir, but I also need to thank Vince and Dan at Empowered Streaming for technical support they've provided, and Free Palestine.
Thank you so much, Ghazal, first for all the effort that you have invested in making this happen. And indeed, thanks to all the contributors who have made also invested their time and effort in order to make it happen. It has been really impressive, actually. I'm impressed that for the third year in a row, we have also managed to get it together. And maybe I can also say that this year, and thanks to Ala El Qaisi and Batul Abu Aqlain, there have been a number of Gazan participants, including ones from Gaza. And I think it's important here to say that we cannot take this for granted. The reality that Gaza Strip is living in today, especially with the destruction of the infrastructure and the lack of electricity and water and everything else, means that it is very difficult for our participants who have either recorded or managed to participate live, and I know that this has been very difficult, that they have gone through all of the challenges and still succeeded to participate. I think this is this is quite impressive. I really appreciate everyone who has invested the effort, especially those who were in Gaza, but also I want maybe to especially note those who have managed to defeat the trauma and speak. And here I don't only talk about Palestinians. Yes, there are Palestinians who have been in Gaza or who have left Gaza and have managed to go who recorded or spoke to us from other parts of the world. But also our Sudanese friends who have also read, despite a genocide that is also ongoing in Sudan. Our Iranian friends who have also, read their poetry despite everything that has happened during the past year. And many other people who have made their contributions during during this session. So it's important to tell all of them that we do not take your participation for granted. We really appreciate that you have taken all of this effort, but also for those who have challenged the status quo, who have challenged the silencing over Palestine and have raised their voice for Palestine. This is very courageous. Thank you very much. And together, we will advance justice for Palestine and for the rest of the world. I am proud to be one of you and to have had the privilege to work with all of you on this important event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Munir. And I haven't slept for 24 hours. I've been sitting here, so I just forget what I want to say. But it's important to know that there are recordings that I received that we couldn't fit in the 24 hours, and they sometimes didn't belong to different readings. It wasn't organized. It was separate readings that generously was sent to us. We are, after saying goodbye, we're playing some of these recordings, and that the entire session is recorded. Again, thanks to Vince and Dan, and it will be uploaded very soon. And I think all the presses will share their segment or the entire reading, but it's accessible for those who went to bed for part of this reading. Thanks to everyone.
Thank you, Ghazal, and see you next year.
See you.
Hi, my name is Brian Tier, and I'm really grateful and honored to be participating in this reading. I'm going to read to y'all from a long poem that began as a research project into the history of the house sparrow in the United States. It was introduced in Manhattan and Brooklyn in the 19th century and quickly established itself and began spreading across the continent. This began what conservationists and environmental history call the Sparrow Wars. And while I was researching this, it began to become a meditation on hatred, on migration, on law, and on violence. And the poem began to really galvanize around the time I read Isabella Hamad's Recognizing the Stranger. The poem is called A Stranger is an Animal Who Doesn't Sing. It opens with an epigraph from Yanis Ritsos, translated by Spring Ulmer. We read our history clearly in the flight and cries of the bird. I'm going to read just a brief excerpt from the opening and then an excerpt from about 3/4 of the way through. It's a very long poem of 21 pages, so this is just a bit of it. When it is time to study hatred, again sparrows gather bicker in the forsythia. I tend, like I tend, the life of the mind, its leafless thicket, a tangle of lines other voices live in. I think, if I transcribe enough sentences in the notebook, I will find a form that has a hate I can tolerate. What historians call the Sparrow Wars were never really about birds, but homeland biosecurity. The little animal became a stranger, despite how like men are birds, wrote Whittier, thinking maybe about fighting or fucking like scientific men. I was taught to be skeptical of equivalence between nativism and conservation. But what about the model bird law of 1886, promoted by eugenicist naturalists and passed by 10 states that legislated the slaughter of non-natives? Or the Sparrow Exclusion Act, which, though it did not pass, was modeled on the Chinese Exclusion Act and argued this sparrow is to native birds what yellow peril is to human immigration. The question, after all, is who is the enemy and who is not? The current reigning architect of genocide on television says they are animals. Like all previous reigning architects of genocide, performing the consoling fiction of fixed identity in the gender ideologue, lip sync, elimination, competition, banal evil. Invariably, whosoever a nation state calls a stranger, a nation state calls an animal, because the state can kill an animal without qualm. To live with wrong, genocidal men constantly talking, Isabella Hamad suggests we live between alignment and alienation, alike and unlike, never quite at home in the notebook, finding things out and changing with the needs of sense-making, without linear evolution. Its limitation is acceptance of whatever happens next. Thank you so much.
Hey, my name's Laura. Excited to share some Atal Adnan from A to Z. A. Is it that you prefer the raven and the cow to me, i.e. the language and the cloud? B. April is the cruelest month, and December the darkest. Gone are the East River and the fallout sky. Manhattan is rising instead of the sun. C. Great flowers are falling just after the rain. Samuel Beckett is sipping tea at the corner of Worcester and Spring. D. Uproar 1 and 2. The mayor is dead from the East End to the West. The trains are falling apart like Marilyn Monroe used to. E. Ronald has a spittoon. The lagoon has the moon between its legs, playing ball. F. 2 pennies on the rug make a woman bend like a soldier coming back from war. G. Rooms are so full of noise nowadays that angels cover their faces with blood. If I told you I love you, would you believe that airplanes fly at night? H. No, let it go. You came up with stairs and coffee. I lost the key to the butter. I. The Midwest is over there and white. I talked to too many snapshots while you were swimming. You told me my eyes are blue and I have cancer. Only the government knows. J. Adding 1 + 1, zeroing on infinity, listening to the radio, killing cockroaches, early morning, going to California. K. The wooden church decides to go to the ocean. A sailor arrives in a new boat. We are roving to the edge of insanity with tears and some money. I. Did you count the speed of the rocket and the waterfalls of the park? They walk besides their bicycles. Did you tell your dog that he is hungry for butterflies? Sorry, that was L. M. I come in out of rooms full of armchairs and metal bars. Cities are beams of light because a truckload of mushrooms spilled over the Lincoln Tunnel. N. Jim is at the airport going to the Washington, D.C. dressed like an astronaut. The wind blows from the bathroom when you forget your toothbrush by a car. O. Tremendously, the Continental Divide marches on New York City. 10, 2, and 1 are coming close to nothing. P. The Buddha is dancing in the Whitney Museum and the moon is bored. Q. The Columbia River went shopping. We were making love on the couch. The Spider-Man came through the window. Your mother rang, so we watched TV. R. Do not get drowned the very day of your wedding. The sun is round and red. 2 and 2 never make 4 before noon or after. S. When superior decisions descend from their electronic boards into the middle of your brain, why do you shout the police are coming? You know it's only your mother and sometimes her latest husband. Otherwise, it's the sea. T. Monsters grow lilies on their head. The tugboat comes next, and the submarine forever. Let's count uneven numbers like prisoners do. U. The car jumped off the bridge. The parachute refused to open. The body was not in the morgue. It didn't go home either. There was a pileup of cars all the way to Denver. V. Picture taking is like pulling a false alarm. The ancestors resent it. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. One morning the salmon rang my door. Oh, what a beautiful smile. W. Between the Hudson and the East River there is the Strawberry Garden. Helicopters come and go, carrying dead Indians formerly buried under the plains. X. I miss Manhattan, its skyline and the blistering lights. Today they are planting wheat where Times Square stood. The buses are running on schedule without their wheels. Y. If a captain takes a kayak over the Stanislaus and comes walking through the prairies, would you wash his sore feet or invite him to a dance in Soho by the garbage and the heat? Z. There was a transfer of power between the mouse and the deer. It happened in Central Park while you were on a glider, and on your skis a mountain was pulsating in the thin air. Solidarity and thanks.